Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's 0500 here in San Francisco. We're in Studio B. No, Julia, of course, she's upstairs in the Commodore suite, but we are here ready to go for another watch party. A little bleary-eyed, yes, indeed, but delighted to be with you all. As Mark Holland was asking for the Zoom. I'll show you the Zoom here. It is 267-220-6570, passcode 1851. Same as always, and we're just starting to get the up on the multi-view here. You can see our slides that are playing now are this intro video. We've got the Apple TV showing the coming live from Barcelona. Morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's press on here. Just a quick note before we go to Barcelona. They're delayed. They're not starting now till 20 after the hour, or that's the earliest they hope to start, because there hasn't been any wind today. They were trying to get 3 races started at 11 o'clock. And guess how many races? Mark Holland is saying, yeah, we lost the wind this AM, but are trying for 3 races in class. Yeah, they've got 3 races remaining in the Group A. And then they're trying to get 4 races in after that. We could be here for 7 races this morning. This could be quite a watch party. But in the meantime, we are doing our watch party at 0500 this afternoon at 1300. Julie will be down here, and we'll do our regular show. Our regular show, Friday show at 1300 PDT. I've done the cover slides. I don't have it all done, but I've got between the end of this show and 1300 to get that finished up. Tomorrow morning at 0500, we'll do another watch party. Tomorrow is, of course, day 1 of the 37th edition of the oldest trophy in sport, the America's Cup. We'll do that. We'll do that again Sunday morning when we have races 3 and 4, 1 and 2 tomorrow, 3 and 4 Sunday, and then a WAC, the Women's America's Cup, which we're watching this morning on the watch party, the WAC finals between the top 2 teams coming out of the semis, which hopefully will be determined today. We'll do that watch party Sunday morning, and that should be interesting, same as we did for the youth. An America's Cup race is what I think they will do, followed by the WAC finals, and then the America's Cup 4th race if they have wind. Tomorrow's looking okay wind-wise, Richard Gladwell tells me. But wind on Sunday could be light, dodgy, could be unraceably light. Monday is a reserve day, so if they don't get all the racing in this weekend, we expect they will be racing on Monday. And if so, of course, we'll cover that with a watch party. Tuesday is a day off. It is not a race day. It's not a reserve day. It's a day off, and we will do our regular show at 1300 Pacific. And our live guest will be Ben Remacher, who's the class manager for the 49er class. And of course, we got 3 skippers, 3 former medalists in the 49er class racing in the Cup racing. So in the finals, in the names of Pete Burling, Nathan Outeridge, and of course, Dylan Fletcher for the Brits. Chris Fury from Melbourne, perfect force 3-4 tomorrow. We hope Alex Hayworth is right. Tom Ogletree, good morning from cool Savannah. And Fritz Mueller's in Miami, fog machine. No wind? I'm shocked. Yeah, what a wonderful venue. Thierry de Jong's down in SoCal. Rick Bannero's also in Chile, Connecticut, or also in Connecticut, where it's also chilly. Fog Machine's up and early here in the Bay Area. Christopher Gillingham in Limington. Bob Walker in North Texas. Mark Holland. Yeah, and then the entire finals today. Not today, but semifinals, I think Mark means, is the schedule today. They got, again, 3 Group A races remaining. And then after that, they've got the 3 Group B teams already have qualified. We'll show you who they are as we go forward here in the slides. But the show, this is the cover slide. I haven't published it yet, but for this afternoon show, there's the cover slide for our 1300 show today. Can Dillon and Sir Ben beat Pete and Nathan in AC 37. So this is the state of play as, they're showing delay again. There's no wind. They had the boats go out, and then they brought them. You can see here the Apple TV That's the live feed out of Barcelona, and I'll get to that full screen in a sec. But they are still in postponement. They sent the boats out and then tried to get these A group races finished up, but that was at 11:10, so a couple 3 hours ago, and that isn't happening. But Group B did get wrapped up a couple days ago, and going forward from Group B, the top 3 teams, of course, to the semifinals. We'll see them racing, we hope, later today. The Swedes, the Dutch, and the Spanish have gone forward from Group B. Sadly, Olivia Price and her Andu Team Australia did not qualify. They were in 4th place, did not manage to get one of the top podium spots to go forward to hopefully today's semis. In the other group, the Brits are on top, tied with the Italians, 36 points both. And then the surprise, perhaps, is the Alinghi Red Bull Racing, their women's team. This is the Group A, the so-called America's Cup teams. So the A teams, these are the 3 so far. Now, will those 3 go forward after 3 more races today? That's the question. The Kiwis, you would think, would be up there. They've had a lot of time on the boats and in the simulator and so on, but they're 5 points behind the Swiss at this stage, and we'll see if they get any or all the races in. They may not, and they may truncate this Group A side and send those 3 teams forward without completing the schedule, as you from the Commonwealth might say. Who else is on? Signing on, David James. So the girls is in Barcelona. Annie Gardner is saying the wind might arrive 4-ish local time. It's now 2 p.m. rather, 1400. So we could be gas bagging here for a while, as Richard Lawton is up in Washington State. Chris Elliott joining the watch party from North Carolina, where they've had a hell of a go with weather. They had, at least out in western North Carolina, as you probably know, that first hurricane, Helene, made a mess of western North Carolina. And now, of course, this other one, this more recent, yesterday and the day before, and suffering today in Florida, but that's gone offshore, so that's not going to affect North Carolina and Georgia above Florida, but it made a hell of a mess, particularly the tornado activity. That they spawned 100-plus tornadoes across Florida in the east and the south, and, of course, the tornado itself went in on the west coast of Florida, just south of Tampa Bay, and we had a report on our Tuesday show from several of our FOSI, but we'll have another report this afternoon on the cleanup operations there. Luckily, Davis Island Yacht Club was spared because the storm, instead of going up Tampa Bay, the eye of the storm, it wobbled a bit, went right and to the south of Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, that area, part of Florida. It spared, among others, Davis Island Yacht Club. So the comments rolling in here. There's Julie Ahrens, who is in Barcelona. She flew over on Wednesday. The opening ceremonies were spectacular. Yeah, I watched those live yesterday at noon our time. But she's going to be giving us her view of reality from Barcelona going forward. Thank you, Julie, for coming on. Peter McDonald is down in foggy Newport Beach in SoCal. And we shall see what else is going on here as we look again. There's 21:25 is the countdown, so they are way behind schedule in Barcelona because of that wonderful venue is still not behaving well. It's behaving just as you would expect, just as one would expect. Not much wind in October, and going forward it gets lighter, as we've been telling you for months. You know, I, having lived in Valencia, just down the shore, down the coast, a couple hours drive, for the better part of 10 years. But that's the lay of the land. That's the play here. Group A, we hope, are going to get 3 more races in today. Then those top 3 teams will join the top 3 teams that have already qualified from Group B, and we'll have ourselves some kind of what they're now calling a semifinal. Those top 6 boats will race in 4 races, also scheduled for today, and then the top 2 teams out of the semifinals will meet in the finals Sunday morning between races 3 and 4 of AC 37. At least that's the schedule. That gets us through the preliminary slides. That's my finish line slide for later this morning, if and when we get through some racing here. So in the meantime, let's go back to full screen, not of the slides, but of what we've got coming off the Apple TV, which is right there, and some audio. Put that up at the top of the multi-view and then put it on full screen as we're talking about now 20 minutes to the start. As this today's racing is delayed. This is now a replay of Group A, Fleet Race 1 from some days ago. They're starting now, and we're going to see replays. As Richard Gladwell says, we're going to watch replays of replays, probably for a good bit of this morning. The breeze is supposed to fill in later this afternoon. My camera's on. I put a hand gesture up here, and my camera is moving around. We got to turn that off. These fancy PTZ cameras we've got that look at gestures. We'll go back and turn that off in a moment. And you can do. These cameras are very cool, and I don't remember what the hand gestures are, but they will follow. It'll follow your face, and I don't want that turned on. I'm going to turn that off so that we're not. And I've got some push buttons here that allow me to swing the cameras around. Free plays or replays, Marine Images is saying. Who's Marine Images? Is that? Who is Marine? It is Mark Arnold in Chesapeake, Virginia. I think Marine Images must be Banner, and he must be on YouTube now instead of on Facebook. Very good Mozzie Sales preview of flight control systems on ETNZ. Yes, Tom Morris, Mozzie Sales, the Brit YouTube channel, has done some stuff. It's been good. And Julie Ahrens, who's a big defender of Grant Dalton. She loves Grant Dalton. Grant Dalton could do no wrong in her book. Reality is reality. It's here. Get over it. Well, I can still be critical of it, Julie, and I can be critical of anybody else. You all can be critical of me and what we do here, but this is a lousy venue. I'm sorry. It should have been done in Auckland. Everybody knows how I feel, and I still feel that way. And I think we'll see. Andrew McIrvin, good morning, Mr. Doctor, who's, I believe, still in London. And by the way, Mr. Andrew, if you don't mind my saying, Andrew, you can put it in the comments. I won't say it until I see you put it in the comments, but he was, of course, in Saint-Tropez, governing the Maxi Association, guiding the Maxi Association through their racing in the classics there in Saint-Tropez. He's back in London, hoping to go to Barcelona later this week, as Mary Jude Szymanski checks in from Philly. Andy Cox. I can only watch so many replays. Yesterday was a struggle. Good when the wind blows, though. Indeed. Oh, Marine Images is Graham Sweeney. I don't see him on the Zoom. Gang, I don't see Ed Worley on the Zoom either. Have you tried to get into the Zoom? Is there any problem getting into the Zoom? Am I on the wrong? Did I put the wrong program up? The wrong Zoom account up? Put something in the comments. Yes, I can say it. I didn't want to get ahead of myself, but Andrew McIrvin confirming that he's got the COVID. He got it in France, but he's in London and better now, so he didn't have a very bad case of that going forward. As we're watching a replay of Group A, Fleet Race 1, coming from Barcelona, as it is too light to race there this morning. Well, that's the full quick rundown. It's 5:15 here now, almost. In San Francisco, and in Barcelona, it's 2:15 in the afternoon, 14:15. Racing was scheduled to start at 14:10, but as you can plainly see, we've got a replay going on here from earlier racing, and it could be quite a delay. In fact, it might be that there's no racing at all. Didn't expect a Zoom party today. I always do a Zoom party. Graham Sweeney, who's Marine Images, at least on YouTube, he's known as Marine Images up in Shetland and Scotland, Yell. If you want to sign in, or Ed Worley, if you want to sign in, the Zoom code, as usual, and I think I'm sure it's up there because I've got my own slide up there. 267-220-6570. 1851's the passcode if any of you want to zoom in. This fog machine who knows Andrew McIrvin from the Stag Cruise last weekend, a couple weekends ago. Oh no, physician, heal thyself. Oh, goodness me. Okay, gang, well, that's the status as we're watching replays. Now, we'll always do a Zoom watch party. If we're doing one of these watch parties, I'll keep the Zoom on. Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin says, he's typing a comment. There's a couple smiley faces. That was the extent of his comment. Welcome to all of you for joining us. Again, I am in Studio B. No Julia. She's upstairs in the Commodore's suite. And I am here in Studio A. So instead of the Tom and Julia show, we got the Tom show, at least for this watch party and all the watch parties. It's Julia's, the logistics of Julia at 5 a.m. would be a little difficult getting her from the Commodore suite down here. But she'll be down here this afternoon for our regular Friday show at 1300. At least that is the plan, that we'll do a show. Rick Bannero, can you get a copyright strike if you are showing replays? I don't think so. We've not had a copyright strike yet from showing videos of the racing live. On Tuesday's show, they actually knocked us off YouTube for showing that Brit. I went back and looked, Rick, and it was that Brit. I'll turn that audio down. It was the Brit video. I played a Ineos Team Britannia, Team Ineos Britannia video that was on their YouTube channel. We've been playing their YouTube. We've been commending their YouTube videos. There's that camera movement again. How weird is that when you're not expecting it? And let's go back. I got to go turn that off. This is the camera control software. And I'll show you how, might as well show you when we're doing that. The camera control software is up now in the lower right corner here of the matrix. And that is what you see. That's camera one. And if I do a superimposition of, put a picture-in-picture up here, that's camera one with various other scenes. But if I go in there to camera one, I go to more, and you can see the gesture tracking is on up here. All AI tracking, and it does some other things, zooming and whiteboard. Supposedly it will zoom. Let's try it. If I do this, it recognizes it. Supposedly that will zoom it in. There, see that? And if I go down like this with that gesture, it'll zoom it out, and I don't want it to do that. Oh, now it's doing something weird. Make sure the whiteboard, it thinks I'm doing whiteboard something. Let's get rid of that. Now I've mucked it up. But let's get rid of that gesture tracking. There, I turned that off and go back to the normal view for camera one, which I've got some push buttons over here that can change all 4 cameras here between various views. So that's the camera control software as we are watching replays from Valencia. Rick Bannero replying to Julia. Hello, Julia's up there in the Commodore suite. Tamara Taylor here at the America's Cup base in Barcelona watching live. Hope to start now at 2:30, she's saying. Hi, Tamara. Theo Smith. Matt Sheehan had a good video yesterday with Richard Slater regarding rules. I saw that, Theo, and it was long. It was, 14 minutes long? So I wasn't quite so sure about whether we ought to play that or not. Maybe we will. John Dodge, good morning to you, sir. Back from the ORC Worlds in Newport, just getting on your site. Do we have racing? No, John. We have got a replay from Group A's, which is what we're hoping to see here. before we get to the semifinals later this morning, later this afternoon in Barcelona. So we are in replay as we await the wind in Barcelona. And I am in Studio B, and happy that all of you joined us again. Is somebody put in the comments if they've tried? There's Commodore Harrington, Claire Harrington from Barcelona, and these cameras now have gotten so good. And let me show you while we're gas bagging here. Thanks for the thumbs up, John Dodge. Over here on camera 3, which is normally pointed at Julie. I have it flipped around here so it's pointed at me. That camera, look at the effects on camera 3 as I change the software over here. Look at the effects that you can do with these new, this is a brand new camera. It is called an InstaLink 360. But if I go here to the effects on InstaLink 360, the new, it's the Mark II of that. The effects are scary. First of all, you can see now the bokeh effect. See how it's shading the back, it's blurring the background. You've seen this if you've used the Zoom app, but without a green screen, you can do superimposition, or in effect, digital superimposition of yourself over the background. In fact, I can blur it out entirely. Look at that. And it pops me out of the background. And that's this new camera using digital effects. I think that's way too heavy duty. But if you watched 60 Minutes the other night when they interviewed the presidential candidate Kamala Harris, they use a heavy, what's called bokeh. Now, why'd the camera quit? It didn't like that. So it does have that effect, and also that camera will do makeup. I mean, in effect, will make you up, and you can change the tint and hue of your face and your lip coloring, and it even gives you bigger eyes, and it's, you know, it's a bit breathtaking in its effects. Okay, so that was camera 3. We'll go back to camera 1 here and have a look at what is going on, which is still replays of Group A from Fleet Race 1. Again, if you want to zoom in and keep us company, I'll put the Zoom slide up, 267-220-6570. And the passcode is 1851. Commodore Harrington, I appreciate very much your texts from Barcelona. I'm glad Julie Ahrens is now there. When I wake up at 1 or 2 in the morning to take a pee, stupidly, I check my phone to see what's going on, and I heard both from Claire and from Richard Gladwell, who's in Auckland, the other end of the world, and he's in Auckland watching, because the guy he never sleeps. He doesn't go to bed. In Auckland now, it's 1:23 in the morning, and Richard stays up all night writing on sail-world.com, covering the Cup. And then after he files an article or two early in his morning the next day, which, it's, as I say, 1:30 now, and the racing's done in a couple, 3 hours, he finishes up his article, buffs it up, posts it up to SailWorld, then he goes to sleep for 4 or 5 hours and does it again. So I'm getting the info from both corners of the sailing world, at least from Auckland and from Barcelona, and several others of you in Barcelona. And then other FOSI, Friends of Sailing Illustrated, FOSI from around the world who join, and we appreciate very much the insight and information, including Bob Schmetter, MVY. Now, what is MVY? That's an airport code for what town, Bob? I don't know. That's one I don't know. We talk in airport codes, as you can see Claire saying hi from BCN. That's the airport code, of course, for Barcelona. Or BDA, which is Bermuda, and on and on and on. Martha's Vineyard. MVY. And Claire knew that because she's past Commodore Vineyard Haven Yacht Club on the Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard. So here we are watching replays. They keep promising racing, and they're saying in the next 5 minutes or so, as it's now 5:25 here, it's 14:25, almost 14:26 in Barcelona. But I'm not sure. Edgartown, sorry, Claire Harrington. She's past Commodore of Edgartown Yacht Club, not Vineyard Haven Yacht Club. I'll remember that sooner or later, Claire. Somers Cooper, speaking of BDA, good morning to you, sir. In Bermuda, it's what? You're plus 4 hours to us, so it's 9:25, 9:26 in the morning in BDA, where Somers Cooper is hanging out. The Pooch Women's America's Cup is what is scheduled today, the final 3 races of Group A. And then the semifinals they're now calling it. I think they started out calling it something else. But I like the semifinals. Let's go back. Those of you just joining us, I'll go back to the slides. And tell you what, I'll back it up one more slide here. Group B racing is complete, and those 3 teams have qualified, the Swedes, the Dutch, and the Spanish. Those are the 6 so-called invited teams in Group B. Their racing wrapped up a couple days ago. Our Fozy Olivia Price, who is the skipper of the A-Helm on Andu Team Australia, did not get through, sadly. We were cheering for her and her team. They did not get through. They finished 4th. Only the top 3 teams there in the orange box go through to the semifinals. Likewise, in Group A, which we're hoping to see some racing for sooner than later, Athena Pathway, that's the British team, and then LRPP's women's team, and surprisingly, the Swiss, they look like they're going through from Group A, especially if they have to truncate the series and not do any more racing for it. I don't know if they will now still go ahead and do more racing and postpone the semis till later if they can't get all that in today, or if the wind completely craps out. If they'll push that to the semis, that is, those top 6 teams from the 3 from each group, push that forward to tomorrow or even Sunday, and then have the final later on. Because right now the final semis are scheduled for today, and then the top 2 teams going forward out of the semis to the final on Sunday morning between races 3 and 4 of the America's Cup. Do I still play the guitar, Barry Harmsworth? Yes, I still play the guitar and the bass guitar and the banjo from time to time, as some of you will have been painfully reminded. I try not to do that except late at night when we're having a big sing-along somewhere. So that's the state of play. Group A, we think, are going to have 3 more races today, Friday. And maybe those 3 teams will go forward, maybe not. Maybe the Kiwis will climb that 5-point gap into 3rd, because only, as we've said now, the top 3 teams go forward. We don't know. We shall see. Tamara Taylor, racing now pushed to 10 minutes to 3. Well, that's another 20 minutes from now. It is, again, 5:30 in the morning here, nearly 5:29 and change here in San Francisco. In Barcelona, it's 14:29, 29 minutes after 2. And they're saying no racing contemplated now until 10 minutes before 3, so another 20 plus minutes. No surprise. No surprise at all. Okay, well, that's the state of play. I wonder if we ought to go watch a replay. I'm sure all of you are really excited to watch a replay. There's live. They got a live for us. 7.7 knots of wind in the middle of the track. And let's see what Peter Lester
Team
is
New
saying.
Zealand are out there, about 3 miles up. Right now they're not sailing, but they have been. The French, you've already seen them ripping around. So there's a
ripping
enough breeze
around.
for the big boats to sail. We just need it to fill in. In fact, I look up now.
Yeah, I wonder if the J boats are sailing today. Boy, there's some magnificent photos from the J boats.
All right, thanks for that, Pete. Appreciate that. All right, so
Herb Alpert and Lonnie Hall last night. Fog Machine, aka Lance Burke, here in the Bay Area. He told me yesterday he was going over to see that. More hair coming through Herb Alpert's trumpet than all of Barcelona. I don't think we need to listen to the replay audio, do we? He's going to take a nap. Well, check back with his Fog Machine, because obviously you're not missing too much now. Herb Alpert and Lonnie Hall. And Lonnie Hall was what? Remind me, was the lead singer for Sergio Mendes in Brazil 66? Is that right? Is that who Lonnie Hall is or was? And Herb Alpert, of course, was the leader of the Tijuana. You know the difference between Tijuana and Tijuana? Who knows the difference? Because it was called the Tijuana Brass, which got a lot of people back in the day, back in the, I guess, 70s, thinking the name of the town south of San Diego in northern Mexico, in Baja, Mexico, is called Tijuana, and it's not. The name of the town is Tijuana, Tijuana. There's no TIA. There's no Tijuana in the name of the town. So why did they get named the Tijuana Brass, that 70s group? Rick Bannerow, hey, is there an island in Cook Islands called No Surprise? Hey, Tom. Fog Machine, who saw that concert last night, yes, she's a Chicago girl that learned to sing in Portuguese. Mark Holland, where are you, Mark? Are you up in northern Mass, as usual, just south of the New Hampshire border? Having some power issues there. Sorry, race now scheduled. Yeah, 2:50. Buenos dias. Hello, Denise Balzac. She is in PR in Puerto Rico. Yeah, 14:50. So almost 18 minutes, 17 minutes from now, they hope to get going. Theo Smith, the great Sergio Mendes, just passed last month. Yes, indeed. I saw that, Theo, and I saw Sergio Mendes, who, of course, led Brazil 66, terrific singing group and more. And I saw a collab, as the kids would say, a collaboration between Sergio Mendes and Herb Alpert somewhere. There was a concert, and I saw it on YouTube not too many days ago. Watched that video, the music buff that I am, as many of you are. Heidi Purcell talking about music buffs, checking in from my hometown of Ann Arbor, Michigan. As far as I know, Heidi, are you in Ann Arbor? As we're watching another replay, again, as Richard Gladwell says, a replay of a replay. There's another Balzac checking in from Orlando. You've had quite a couple of days in Orlando. Eugenio, how do you pronounce your name properly, Eugenio? And that storm, hurricane, went inland as a Cat 3. Hurricane Milton, went in as a Category 3, as you all probably know, on the west coast of Florida. Luckily, if you're in Tampa, St. Pete, it wobbled and went a little to the south, and it also sped up in the last few hours, so it went inland before high tide. Went inland, Wednesday evening their time, and it was scheduled to go in early Thursday morning. Originally, they thought it was going in then, but it sped up just a touch, and therefore went in at lower tide, so it wasn't quite as bad. Plus, it wobbled to the south, which wasn't good for the towns just to the south of Tampa Bay. Denise Balzac's dad is watching. That's who's watching in Orlando. We hope you haven't suffered too badly from the storm that went across the state through Orlando and then exited out, and I guess is now headed toward, Bermuda. But it's now just, I think, a tropical storm, isn't it? I haven't looked this morning. Chris Fury says he's all replayed out, off to bed. We'll check in for our regular show in the morning, Australia time. Yeah, it's Sydney. It's almost midnight there, 23:35 in Sydney. Are you in Sydney, Chris, or are you in Melbourne? I can never remember the Aussies other than Jody Shields, who's in Wanji, and Mr. President Alistair Murray, who's normally in Melbourne. But yeah, it's late night down there, late Friday in Oz, and we will do our regular show at 1300, and Chris is indeed in Melbourne. Thank you for that. As we await something. I should have teed up some more videos. Yeah, yesterday, the opening ceremony was at noon our time, so 9 p.m., 2100 in Barcelona, and it came up live on YouTube, and I watched it live, but you wouldn't have known that apparently it was there on the beach, and they had something that looked like an oil, like a Long Beach oil platform or oil rig on which the performers are performing. And the opening video, which was about a brief history of the America's Cup, was superb. I haven't seen the video before, and it was really, really, I thought, quite good. Then they went, as they do in Spain and some of the other European countries, and even in the U.S., but they went into an operatic, singing, dancing, nice affair. But it had little to do with the America's Cup, except to say that it was humanizing technology, if I'm paraphrasing this correctly, you all that watched it. Humanizing technology and saying that Barcelona was now the lighthouse of the world because of the America's Cup. And they said people were watching it live, and there's some boats that sailed by on the back. But you couldn't tell, I couldn't tell, if it was live or if it had been videotaped in recent days or maybe recent weeks, and they were just playing for TV this whole thing, because you never saw the crowd. You heard some crowd noise in the background, but that could have been, recorded and played back. But I'm told by several of you who are there or were there that yes, and in fact, Julie Ahrens, who's on here now, she said she was down there on the beach last night, and that there were something like 250,000 people on the beach. Or so I'm told by Mark Reed, one of our FOSI, a Michigander who's over there, back in Barcelona. And he said it was trying to get to the beach, get anywhere close to the beach, because the number of people who were there watching, it was virtually impossible to get there unless you went there hours ahead of time. But as an opening ceremony, I was expecting, as you would at previous America's Cup opening ceremonies, whether they be in Spain or in Auckland or here in San Diego, here in San Francisco, down in San Diego, we always got both teams up on the stage, introduced the teams live to the crowd. Hi, here we are, and here's what's going on, personalized it a bit, maybe had a bit of a speech from the head of the team or the skipper, helmsman, whomever. None of that. There was no mention, well, there was mention of the teams, but no introduction of the teams. They must have been either watching on the tube or already home in bed. I don't know. But it was live. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, I know several of you were commenting, texting to me, is this live or is this Memorex, as the old commercial used to go? Yeah, I reminded Denise, who's a veteran of many America's Cups. Denise and I have done a few campaigns together. Reminded me of Louis Vuitton production, packaging of, you remember the Louis Vuitton parties, the balls that they've traditionally had at the America's Cup when they've been a sponsor of the Challenger Selection Series or the match itself. Yeah, it was fantastic stuff. The dance, the singing, and I'm not a big opera fan, but there was a big choir, there was a big orchestra, and apparently all live. And the production values were, once you realize it was live, were quite amazing. But no mention, other than the opening video. And Steve MacGyver, who's doing the announcing here, the Kiwi host lead announcer, was also doing the voiceover, which I guess was pre-recorded. I'm not sure, but it sounded pre-recorded to me, but I don't know. Denise Balzac, yeah, we all sad, happy memories, I should say, but in the sad passing a couple years ago, Christine Belanger, And Christine, who was at first Bruno Trouble's, as the Kiwis would say, the Aussie offside of the right hand, we would say right hand person or right hand man, in running the Louis Vuitton involvement in the Cup, those many years. And she was La Jefa, she was a great friend of all of ours. In fact, I have out here in the Beach Street Yacht Club in the America's Cup Salon, we have a poster from AC, whatever it was, here in San Francisco 2013, a poster signed by the late, great Christine that I prize. I dearly, in fact, right over the fireplace here in the America's Cup Lounge here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. She sadly passed away a couple years ago. Bruno Trouble, I think, is in Barcelona. One hears, I believe he's there, and maybe getting together with our esteemed Fozy, Christine Belanger. And Bruno's, of course, a Fozy. He's been on our regular show a number of times. Bruno Trouble, who in 1983, who he had been sailing for Baron Marcel Beek, for Baron Beek in the 70s, with the, in fact, skippered their boat in, I guess, in 1980 in the Challenger trials. I think he did. And then in 1983, it was really Bruno's brainwave. It was his idea to bring a sponsor in and have a sponsored Challenger Selection Series. Remember, the Challenger Selection Series started in 1970. And by 1983, there was, 6 or 7 challengers in that series, and they managed to go on and win. That is, the Australians did, after that structured, sponsored selection series, the so-called Louis Vuitton Cup. And it was Bruno Trouble's idea to go to the late Henri Racamier, who was then head of Louis Vuitton before they were all amalgamated into Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy LVMH. And Henri Racamier, apparently on the basis of one phone call and maybe one lunch or dinner that Bruno and Monsieur Racamier had, and what a great guy he was too. You'll remember him, I'm sure, from the early days, Denise Balsac, who, as I said, went through a lot of the cups back in that era, maybe not quite that far back. She's a young lady, and still, but Denise, you and I did what, 2 or 3 cups together? Andrew McIrvin said he saw Bruno in Saint-Tropez during that fabulously, that big regatta, which is traditional in October, of the classic yachts and more. And Andrew had his maxis there. I say his, because he's Secretary General of the IMA, the International Maxi Association. I don't see any of our other regular Zoomers on. I thought Ed Worley was coming on. Maybe he fell asleep, went to sleep. But if you want to join on Zoom and have a natter with us, with me, 267-220-6570 is the meeting ID. Passcode 1851. As we're still waiting for racing to get underway, it's been delayed now about 40. Well, it was supposed to start 10 minutes after the hour in Barcelona. And last we knew, they were talking about racing starting 10 minutes before 3, or 14:50, which is 6 or 7 minutes. 6 minutes now, from now. But we're watching a replay from Barcelona of Group A Fleet Race 3. We've already seen Fleet Race 1 in their preliminary series. And we don't know if they'll get any racing in today at all, but we're supposed to see the remainder of the Group A races, and then the top 3 from Groups A and B going together into the so-called semis. That's a 4-race series, scheduled all for today as well. We could be seeing as many as 7 races, but the sundown in Barcelona is at 8 o'clock. They've only got another 5 hours to try to get all that racing in. Joe Cool, thank you for you coming on. You've been a regular on here and a supporter of Sailing Illustrated. We appreciate very much your support. Raymond, good morning from mostly safe Baltimore, Maryland. Well, you've got a good football team coached by John Harbaugh, brother of Jim Harbaugh, both of whom were Ann Arbor boys, as when I was in Ann Arbor and they're a few years younger than I, and I don't know if you know this, Joe Cool, or Rainman, I should say, Rainman in Baltimore. I coached Jimmy Harbaugh on a hockey team when he's 10 years younger than I. He was 10, I guess I was 20, and one of my brothers played on that team, so I had agreed to coach the team. And Jimmy Harbaugh, whose dad was then an assistant coach at Michigan, University of, and the football team there. So I definitely coached Jim. I remember him. My late great mother, tells me that I'd also coached a team on which one of my other brothers was playing that had John Harbaugh on it, but I don't remember that. I think that was my mother having a reconstructed memory. As we gas bag away here waiting for something to happen. We're in Studio B in San Francisco as usual. No Julia. She's upstairs in the Commodore's suite. She was texting me this morning, and as she can attest, once you wake up, several mornings in a row at 400, I have to get on the air at 0500. I was actually up even 30 minutes before that this morning. And you start watching these things early in the morning, and you get jet lag, and it's hard to stay awake at night and hard to get up later in the morning. You kind of get up and go at it. Jim is the better athlete. John is the better coach. Well, Jim did play in the NFL for quite a while, and he did go back to Michigan and played quarterback, played well. Racing now delayed. The bad news being brought to you by Tamara Taylor. Don't shoot the messenger, Tamara. We won't blame you, but racing now delayed until the earliest, another 22 or 3 minutes from now, until 10 minutes after the hour. Yeah, Raymond, I don't think I ever coached John. I was the league director of the Ann Arbor Amateur Hockey Association for 6 years, almost 6 years. And the Harbaugh kids in Ann Arbor, football players play football, obviously, in the autumn and the fall, and then the winter comes along, and if they're not basketball players, they all play hockey in Ann Arbor. It's a big sport in Michigan. And it was one of the largest kids' hockey youth hockey programs in the country. And both the Harbaugh kids played hockey. I don't remember John myself, but I do distinctly remember Jim and coaching him on my youngest brother's team that my youngest brother Martin was playing on. Tamara, you're a gem. Thank you for keeping us posted. She has direct access to the race management info coming out at the America's Cup base at the ACB in Barcelona. So we continue to watch. There's some live coverage here coming off.
On the day.
This is live.
It was our first real indication that they had, I suppose, surely locked into their AC40. And
you can see that beautiful
are going to be a threat.
Port Vel.
It seems a while ago now. What a great day of racing.
Which is separate from Port Olympic. We'll listen to Shirley for a sec.
So that was the standings after 3 races.
That's the standings we've been showing you.
And the 2 wins and the 4th place. And everybody was quite surprised by that 4th place in the opening race, but they certainly put that to bed pretty quickly. Consistency is the key when you come to the AC40s because of the weighting on the points, because you have 10 points for...
That's not the current standings, however.
So if you stay around about there, even in that 4th position, you're going to be looking good. So, but we were seeing already an unfolding of another mini battle between Emirates, Team New Zealand.
Is that the right standings? That's not the standings I was showing from Group A.
Try and get a start in race number 6. Now, we have just been advised by race management. It has been pushed out again to a 3:10.
Okay, so you see Tamara Taylor's ahead of the TV. Again, that's Steve MacGyver saying it's been pushed out. Yeah, I think you're right, Denise. That was a replay package showing the standings, and Steve MacGyver, as usual, confused, thinks that's the current standing. He was talking to that slide, and that's not the current slide. Here is the current slide, and the current standings from Group A. It's the Brits, the Italians rather, and the Swiss in the top three going forward as of now, as of this moment. But with 3 races to go, that could change, of course, and the Kiwis could climb up there. Not likely the French or the Americans. Okay, we'll go back to the Apple TV. That's a live shot, and as you can plainly see, there's not much breeze.
Yeah, that was Julia Conti living her best life. I guess on this boat, though, the Kiwi team, they don't look like they're feeling nervous, but I bet inside they are, you know, in the space of...
Okay, Shirley, who's trying always to put a happy face on this. I'm sorry, and Julie Ahrens, who's there and a big fan of ETNZ and Mr. Dalton's, this is a dismal venue. There have been more race days lost in this cup. There we go. Is that Patrizio Bertelli's boat? Andrew McIrvin will know.
Teak work on that would be something that...
Whose boat, I wonder, is that? That's more... Go show us the J-boats. Show us some of these other races. There's a head boat, as we would call it here in the States. Pay per head and you get aboard.
Preoccupied this summer with the Paris Olympics, but it's great he's here supporting.
Nice images.
Tomorrow, it's the big one, the start of the match.
Start of the match tomorrow, and then the forecast is better tomorrow. So we hope there'll be some racing tomorrow. The races 1 and 2 are scheduled. We'll do a watch party at 0500 again. Now he's qualifying it, saying the world's best fast boat sailors as opposed to the best sailors. Well, you know, it's hard to argue. They're pretty much the best sailors. Now we're going to see a package, video package about the Swedes. Oh no, about the Dutch.
Be a first one again. This is it.
Oh, about several of the teams.
Step in the right direction.
We really do have the best in the world racing against each other.
There's our Fosie Olivia Price. Well, again, I don't want to copyright hit Lisa Darmanin, who's been doing a stellar job as a commentator for Sail GP, the Aussie lady. Yeah. I haven't seen this package before. Maybe I'll grab this and run it on the show this afternoon at 1300. Well, as we await now a further delay, here's Mr. Dalton.
In lots of sports, there is tokenism. We just don't believe in that. We believe that people should be there under their own talent. But women don't have a natural pathway.
A natural path. The big discussion going on now as to whether or not the next cup, I don't know if you saw the interview with Mr. Denora, who is the Italian backer, and he's the multi-millionaire, if not billionaire, backer of ETNZ, and has been for quite some time, for many goes to 3 or 4 or 5 cups now. And he's very quiet and behind the scenes, but he does show up in the Italian press every now and then, and he showed up a couple days ago in the Italian sports paper, the name of which escapes me, but I'll remember it. One of you will know here in the comments, in the chat. And Mr. Denora said, yeah, the cup's going to the Middle East. We could do it in Barcelona again. They'd be ready, but we do want to do it in 2 years' time. And the Middle East, regardless, is ready. And, you know, with Formula One and football/soccer going on there and golf and tennis and other things, it's time for the cup goes to the Middle East. And he said not necessarily Saudi Arabia, but maybe it goes to Bahrain or to Dubai or to, you know, one of the other Emirates even in 2 years' time. And, you know, there's not much more wind there, although in Jeddah, when they had that preliminary regatta, they had pretty good breeze, but it was only a couple days. So over whether they have a good sailing condition over the longer haul, I have been there to Dubai at least, and the Dubai International Marine Club, where we've hosted a couple world championships. I've sailed there and judged there. What do we have there? We also did what was then ISAF, I think, an ISAF Worlds there, but I chaired the jury for a Hobie Worlds there, I think. or a Windsurfer Worlds, or maybe both. I can't remember. Too old. Trey Ritter, I don't know much about the American team. I'm embarrassed to admit. I don't know about the Americans' performance. They've had a lot of boat problems. I do know that. So in their defense, their boat has not worked very well, and I'm not sure they've been able to climb out of that hole. What is this now? Is this live?
I don't know, 2 miles out to sea. There's a bit more breeze out there, and they're up and foiling, but we just know how powerful the AC-75s are.
So that seems to be live. Peter Lester, as they're further out to sea, and Tamara says the boats are now released to sail rather, at 1,500, meaning they're out there, they're floating around, as you can see, but they're not released to sail, and that's to preserve battery power because, as you all know, these boats are powered. They don't have any cyclers in them, and everything below and above the water, unlike the big boats, everything below and above the water is powered by batteries, whereas on the big boats, below the water is powered by batteries, and above the water is powered by those cyclers with their legs. So they're not permitted to sail. They're out there drifting around, floating around. They're not permitted to sail until 1,500, which is, what, 3 minutes, 20 seconds from now. They were showing 14:39 to start, Mark Holland is saying, and now they're showing a clock counting down, so maybe there is enough wind. Maybe they do expect to get racing. One can only hope. At what? 10 minutes after the hour. Right? 10 minutes after the hour. So they're running a package now with the esteemed Hannah Mills, the most decorated female Olympian in the history of our beloved sport. Yeah, I don't see any Zoomers on. I guess people weren't expecting to have Zoom on today. But I'm teeing that back up, and I am sending video to that group. And I think sending audio as well. So if anybody wants to come on by Zoom, 267-220-6570, and the passcode is 1851, which, as you all know, is the year that the America's Cup got underway. Go back to the Apple TV here and see what they're showing us, that package with Hannah Mills. What a great sailor and ambassador for our sport she is. Bravo Zulu to Hannah. Graham Sweeney says he's retired from Zooming, but or from regattas, but his dog Millie is still available. Our original Zoomer, Graham Sweeney. John Schaefer has joined us from Annapolis, or normally from the Annapolis area. John, nice to see you.
We both know each other pretty well. We know what pushes each other's buttons. We know how to sort of calm each other down and stuff. And so it's been really interesting.
Athena Pathway. But back to Mr. Denora for a second, who was talking about if the Kiwis win, the next cup being in the Middle East, could be in Barcelona, he said, because they're ready to do it in 2 years' time. And you heard Mr. Dalton say a couple weeks ago he wants to do it in two years' time if they win, if the Kiwis win. Well, that was confirmed by this interview in the Italian sports paper by Mr. Denora, the billionaire backer of ETNZ. And he also said that there was a big discussion about whether women should be put on the boat. And it almost sounds like they're talking about taking the cyclers off the boat and having 8 real sailors on the boat, not 4 sailors and 4 cyclers, which sounds to me like they're going to make the AC-75s fully electric. fully battery powered, as are the AC-40s, below and above the water. And then they put 4 more sailors on, or maybe 2 more sailors, one of whom might be, by rule, by regulation, a woman, a female. So I don't know. We'll see. If the Brits win, who was saying there was a press conference this morning? This is Mark Holland saying there was a large press conference this morning. Ineos was non-committal. Well, they must have been doing the regular pre-regatta press conference, right? Ineos was non-committal about their future sponsorship. Ineos, whether they are going to sponsor the British team going forward, win, lose, or draw. Is that right, Mark? Did I get that right? Andrew McIrvin agreeing, and of course, the cyclers are nonsense. Oh, yeah, the Annapolis Boat Show, sailing boat show is this weekend, Columbus Day weekend. It's Columbus Day, or some of you would say Indigenous Peoples Day here in the United States. Monday is the day we used to celebrate Columbus Day, giving us the 3-day weekend here in the U.S. Steve Atkins says, yes, fully electric is overdue. The cyclers, I think he agrees with Andrew McIrvin, are ridiculous. Christopher Gillingham saying, yes, that sounds a scenario for the future. Graham Sweeney talking about this. Pooch races are a great promotion and pathway for large foiling boats, but it's a promotion event to me. It dilutes the actual event for the America's Cup, Graham Sweeney is saying. I see somebody coming on from Sweden, Kel Borking. Welcome to you, Kel, if you're going to come on.
Beautiful day in Barcelona.
That would be nice. So you can see now we've got Kel. Is that the way you pronounce that in Swedish? Kel? Gel? How do you say that in Swedish? See, I don't know if we have any audio from him. Let me see if we have any audio from him. We do have audio. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Tom.
Hey, how do you pronounce your first name?
Shell. You would spell it S-H-E-L-L, I guess, if you were American.
S-H-E-L-L, Shell?
Yeah,
Close
that's
enough?
good.
Okay, well, welcome.
Yeah. Excellent, thank you.
Nice to have you on.
Thank you.
You want to put some video on if you want. If not, no big deal. I don't see any video from you, but if you want to put video on. Larry
I just
Kennedy.
need to find it.
That's okay. Go ahead. I'll turn your mic down for a sec, and but when I spot you in the video, we'll bring you up. I see Larry Kennedy, Olaf from Long Island. He's out on Long Island. There's Shell checking in. Where in Sweden are you, Shell?
Outside Stockholm, Lidingö.
Good. Well, what time is it there? It must be, what?
Just after the 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, 15:03 there. Nice to have you on. I haven't been to Stockholm in quite some years. I've been to Göteborg and up in Marstrand a few times recently, or fairly recently. As they're still saying, they look like they're going to get going here. They're still, well, they're back on a replay. I take it back. They're showing another replay, Group A Fleet Race 4 now. So they've shown most of the fleet of the Group A fleet racing so far on replays. Then Tamara now is telling us, yeah, the race was live, but nope, not. Whoops, sorry, not yet. Steve Atkins saying live action, Tom. Unfortunately, it's not live action. It is you can see how breezy and bumpy it is there. So that is from a couple days ago, I think. I don't even think that's from yesterday. Shell, tell us about what the reaction is to the America's Cup in Sweden.
Well, we're quite enthusiastic, of course. I mean, it's really good to see all the youngsters, and particularly the girls. And it's for us, it's really nice to see the girls how well they are teamed up. Julia Gross was actually, Vilma took over from Julia Gross on the 49er. So I think it's lovely to see them sailing together in the team.
Indeed. Vilma Bobeck, do you know her?
Yes.
Is she a good a person as she is a good sailor? I don't know her personally.
Absolutely, definitely. They both are extremely good.
She comes off very nicely on the videos and is a great representative not only of your country but of our
it's
of
a
our
lot
sport.
of these great gangs. It's from the Royal Swedish Yacht Club and the Royal Gothenburg Yacht Club. But Vilma and they are from the Royal Swedish Yacht Club, but they are from England from the beginning. So it's very interesting to see.
Well,
we also had our chairman there, racing on the Svea, the J-boat.
Yes. Well, it'd be nice to have the Swedes back in the cup. Torbjörn Tornquist, I know, not fairly well. Not put yourself just a little higher in the frame so you're matching me in your headspace. There you go.
See if I can.
There you go. Tilt. Yeah, we spent a little bit of time trying to make everybody look good on here and sound good. But thank you for joining us. I'm going to go back to the comments for a second. Now Tamara Taylor, who's in Barcelona, giving us good info. She's saying they're towing the boats to foil to see if there's enough breeze. Yeah, Steve Atkins, you and I both thought it had gone live. Several others did too, so it wasn't your fault. In fact, Tamara Taylor was telling us that racing had gone live. And Shell, I'll come back to you in a sec. Thanks for joining us. Shell is in Sweden, outside of Stockholm. Graham Sweeney, all this money spent and for the want of a fart of breeze is out of reach. I should open a taco bar in Barcelona. Now the races. Oh man, Tamara's telling us the races are delayed to 15:30. Again, it's just a few minutes after 1500. It's 3:07 in Barcelona. So now we got a delay down to the bottom of this hour. We've been gas bagging here for an hour and 7 minutes here from Studio B. And, what can you do when you have a sport that is reliant on wind? Shell, let's go back to you since you're kind enough to come on. You've changed your venue. You're moving around there in your home. Is that your home in Sweden?
Yeah, that's correctly. Just by the seaside.
Oh, nice view. Is that a fjord? Is that a lake? What is that?
No, it's the Baltics.
Oh, it's the Baltic. What do you sail, Shell, when you're not on gas bagging with us here on the watch party?
Well, I have done dragon sailing here and also a little bit match racing and primarily offshore racing, IMS or ORC as it is now. Nice. I think we met in some ISAF functions way back in time.
Well, we probably did. Were you a delegate from Sweden back in the day?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was a delegate from the U.S. for 20 years, from basically 1980 to 2000, and a lot of Joran Peterson, who was one of the co-inventors of umpiring and a dear friend. We did a lot of umpiring together, World Championships, the Olympics, and so on. And I've been to his home in Göteborg. And do you know that I'm an old hockey player and a hockey referee, which is how we got the idea for doing this umpiring on the water. And Joran used to play hockey and also used to referee. And I said, Joran, this was back in 87 in Australia, 86, 87, we were there for the Cup, and he was on the jury. So this stuff where they go in and hear protests all night, there's got to be a better way. And the late, great Mary Pera from the UK, who was not a hockey referee, she was not moving around very well at that stage, but a hell of a good brain and a great judge. She said, yeah, you guys ought to go figure that out. So I did. I put it down on paper, and Joran came to Newport, Rhode Island for the Maxi Worlds in 87. And the Maxi owner said, you guys, we want you to come out on the water and make instant calls. Give us decisions out on the water. We don't want to come in and hear protests late at night and interrupt our team dinners and our parties and so on. So the first year, actually in '86, and I don't think Joran was he there? I don't think he was there in '86. I took some of the judges. We went out and put ourselves on the back end of the Maxis and tried with VHF radios, tried to talk between the boats if there was an incident. We talked to each other, and then after the race, we'd give an instant kind of a decision. Well, that was ridiculous. You couldn't see what was going on from the ass end, from the back end of the Maxis to the other Maxis. And the spinnakers are coming down, and you couldn't see. Plus, if you made a call, you made a decision against the team, they wouldn't even give you a sandwich afterwards. I mean, they treated you. So, Shell, I said to Joran, we're both hockey referees. Let's go out on the back end of a big boat. We had a Hatteras, the late Arthur Wolfschlager's Hatteras. The following summer, the Maxi Worlds were in Newport, so we went out on that Hatteras, big 50-something, with not whistles and flags, but with a VHF radio to the tacticians or whomever on the back end of the Maxis. And we wrote up a little thing, which is now the match racing appendix, and basically waited for somebody to display a protest flag. And if they did, we made a call. And it worked. And in fact, we made a critical call that determined the outcome of the finals of that Maxi Worlds in Newport in '87. Went into the prize giving that night, and when Gary Jobson and Bill Koch and I can't remember who all was there, and we thought, oh man, they're going to be mad because we had ruled against them in favor of Russell Long in a crucial match, a crucial incident rather, coming into the bottom mark. And Koch, knowing they were going to lose that race and hence the match racing championship, they went ahead and forced the overlap on the inside. We penalized them. They had to do I think it was a 720, which was the penalty, which we'd come up with.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a 3. I don't remember even the penalty, but they got penalized, and we thought, oh, they're going to be mad at us. So we're at this fancy prize giving at one of the mansions in Newport. And lo and behold, Jobson and Koch and whoever was running the Maxis, not Mr. Dr. McIrvin at that point, but I think it was Gianfranco Alberini from Yacht Club Costa Smeralda. And they said, hey, this umpiring stuff, there's a future. We ought to do this. And Joran and I said, well, okay, maybe we better go give a paper. And I then gave a paper that November. Maybe you were there. In one of the umpires, they had a judge.
I think so, yeah. Well, I was more on the technical side, but I was there, yeah.
What committee were you on, Shell?
The offshore committee.
The offshore committee. Well, in those days, the offshore committee was quite interesting and very useful. And we were paired in the offshore world, as you know, with the Offshore Racing Council, which used to meet over at the RORC in the same week. So yeah, the umpires. I gave a paper at they had a judges seminar. The late great Ken Ryan was running, and I went over and gave a paper, which was basically this is before PowerPoint, before computers. You had those plastic things you put on an overhead projector, And we did some crude drawings and said, this is how we did it. Don't try this at home. I mean, we're still trying to see if this works. And you remember Mary Para, of course, if you were involved in the offshore committee and offshore council, so Mary Para says, Tom, we're going over to the RORC tomorrow. Are you free? I'd like to take you to tea. And maybe it was the day or two later. And she said, let's take tea. I want to ask questions. So I went over to the RORC in the middle of the afternoon, the next day or the day after I'd given this paper at the judges forum. And she started asking questions. She was, as you will remember, was a very smart lady, very good judge, very good offshore race navigator in her own right. I mean, skipper, but also navigator. And before it was fashionable to have women on boats, let alone women in leading positions in sport. And she just, by the force of her own brilliant mind and personality. So she started asking me questions. What happens if you blow the call? Do you do a makeup call? No. If you blow the call, just like in hockey, it's over, and you try to do a better job next time. You don't do a makeup call and penalize the other team. And what happens if you do this? And what happens if you do that? Well, I must have satisfied her, because she went back to the Racing Rules Committee a couple days later and said, hey, this umpiring thing that Tom and Joran and some of the other boys have tried, I like it. I think we should do it. Well, the next March, I think it was March of '88, it was my turn to be the chairman of the Congressional Cup, which is, the granddaddy of all the match racing guys. I'd been on the jury as a judge by then for, I don't know, 6-7 years. And the then young guy who was a friend, was chairman of the committee, called up and said, it's your turn to be chairman of the jury. I said, okay, provided I can do umpiring. Provided I can invite a group in and we'll umpire the Congressional Cup 1988. And I invited Joran, Brian Willis, some of the other names you would know from around, and also the late, great Bob Fisher, who wasn't exactly a big judge umpire, but a great sailor. And we had Fish come, so he would document it. But also we wanted some sailors, Gerardo Seeliger from Spain, who was living in LA then. And we had some Dick Deaver, who had won the Congressional Cup from Southern California, not really a judge umpire type, but to come sit and trained up as an umpire to watch what we were doing and see if it worked. Well, it did work, long story short. The sailors loved it. And then your gang and the Royal Leamington gang took it back and started umpiring the match races in Sweden, in the UK. Graham Hayward in Canada took it back to Canada. Others took it back to Australia, New Zealand, and the rest, as we all now know, is history, because basically everything was umpired from 1988 on in match racing, and then very quickly team racing picked up umpiring, and now virtually all professional sailing, including, of course, the America's Cup, is umpired, lo these now many years later.
Well, I think that's the only way to go. But it's quite interesting to see the inheritance from the hockey world. I think in the northern countries like Sweden and so on, the very, very common combination was playing ice hockey. I did it too, in the winter, and sailing in the summer. Strangely enough, even in ice hockey, we didn't really train hockey in the summer. So
and of course now, Shell, the kids play year round. It's sad in some respects, because we started playing hockey year round too, which was good because you'd stay in shape in the summertime and stay in shape, better physical shape for sailing too. But we didn't make a big deal of it. We played a night or two. But what a great hockey nation Sweden is. And of course, all those I can call you a Scandinavian, can't I?
Absolutely.
And I say that because my late great mother was Norwegian. Mm-hmm. And my maternal grandfather was from Oslo, Cedric Fredrickson. And
Fredrickson, all right.
Grandpa Fredrickson, they were from outside Oslo, and they emigrated to Michigan, to the United States. And I remember, early memory, Grandpa Fredrickson had me on his knee, Shell, and he said, never forget, Tom, 10,000 Swedes ran through the weeds, chased by one Norwegian.
Probably true, yeah.
Well, I don't know, but you know the history between those two countries, and you ruled Norway for all those years, and then Norway broke away finally.
Well, Denmark or no, but I mean, basically it's the same countries. I mean, the differences are very, very small. The language is basically the same.
Yeah, well, in a great part of the world, not only for hockey, but great sailing nations as well. And we'd love to see Sweden back in the Cup. I mean, Torbjörn Tornquist and Artemis, looks like they've done a pretty good job training up some of these people. That Artemis simulator,
absolutely.
Is that in Stockholm, the Artemis simulator, or is that in the UK?
No, it's in the UK.
Well,
it's not in Stockholm, of course. No.
Done quite a job, and it looks, one hears, that Torbjörn Tornquist, because of the women's and the good showing by the women's and the youth in these events, the women's and the youth America's Cups, that there's quite a bit of interest by Artemis Racing in coming back into the next Cup. What are you hearing in Sweden?
Well, we hope so. But I mean, it's a lot of money. I mean, come on, Sweden is a very small country. So is New Zealand, of course. But I mean, it's a lot of money for a small country.
Well, it is, but it's also a very affluent, rich country, and you've got a very, of course, when your people make a lot of money, they move to Switzerland.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. I'm sitting here. This desk, Shell. You know who made this desk and where it was made?
No.
That's IKEA.
IKEA.
In the States we call it IKEA. In Europe you call it. You know, I lived in Europe for 20 years, and in Europe you would call it IKEA.
Yeah, well, it's the different pronunciations of the letters.
But I hate to tell you how much Swedish furniture we have here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, because I'm poor. I'm just a simple country boy from Michigan. This is IKEA. I think this is IKEA. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it is. I believe Julia's desk over here is IKEA. This table, I guarantee you, Shell, this table here that's supporting the stuff in front of me is IKEA, and there's a lot of other IKEA stuff here in the Beach Street Yacht Club, in my apartment here in San Francisco. And
he managed to make Ingvar Kamprad. He managed to build quite a business there.
He just died, didn't he, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, he died. Was it 1.5 years ago, something like that? Yeah.
He was a stereotypical, modest, nice, quiet Swede, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did, absolutely. He
Didn't
have any manners.
Did he sail at all, or did he boat? Was he a boater at all?
No, I'm afraid not. No. That would have been lovely.
It would have been. I see your flag is over my shoulder here too. We've got flags.
I see it.
The nations of, we have what we call FOSI, lots of different people from around the world who are regulars. And if you're wondering why Shell and I are gas bagging, it's because it's still in a replay of Group A fleet racing from a couple days ago. Racing has been delayed and delayed and delayed. Tamara Taylor now telling us it's delayed to 3:40 p.m. local time in Barcelona, where it's now 3:22. So we've got some time to wait. How about the K. Larry 123 videos? I think Larry Kennedy, he's asking about Anna Ostling, who's basically part of the Kennedy family. We used to host them, and Rasmus Migren used to coach Colin. So great. Yeah, I know Anna Ostling pretty well. She is a terrific match racer, female or male. She's heads that team, that Swedish team. Did they win the World Match Racing women's title last year, or maybe two of the last 3 years?
Yeah, I think they did. I'm really not quite sure, but I think so. Yes. They do. They're very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you play, are you still playing hockey?
I'm not allowed for my wife, and she refuses to go and see me in the hospital. So.
But yeah, I mean,
the problem is that there is a senior hockey, but still, if you get an injury now, and I'm 80 years old, so I'm told.
Well, I've stopped playing, although you kind of are, you play where your equipment is, and my equipment's back in Michigan. So if I'm there in the wintertime, which is not often, I might pull my equipment out and strap it on and go play no check with some.
Yeah, but there's no check for seniors.
For seniors, no checking. But we had a doctor at the University of Michigan, who's now gone, who's left us, but who played up until he was 80 something, and he was pretty darn good. He was a bit fragile, and we took special care of him. But yeah, that's what a great.
You can play for fun, but I mean, if you enter some sort of series, all of a sudden it's all too serious, and then you have the injuries.
So Larry Kennedy's reminding us here in the comments that yes, Anna Ostling and the team won the inaugural women's match race Denmark at Skoshoved, which is at harbor north of Copenhagen. I'm sure you know it well.
Absolutely.
And I've spent many hours there as well. What a great sailing trio of you got to include Finland really in that as well. And of course, Helsinki hosted the 56 Olympics? What year were the Olympics in Helsinki?
I think it was 56. That was when the thin dinghy was introduced.
Right.
That's what I remember from it.
That's exactly right. The fin dinghy was 50. Well, it was introduced whenever Helsinki held the Olympics. And, you know, then there was the reverse when Moscow held the Olympics in 1980 and the lead up regattas to Moscow. They had the sailing Olympics, as you will know, were in Tallinn in Estonia. And we used to fly into Helsinki and take the ferry across to Tallinn for the preliminary regattas. And then, of course, the West boycotted the 80 Olympics, and then the East boycotted the 84 Olympics in LA. Oh, now we got some pictures. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh, beautiful.
What do you think of these modern America's Cup boats versus, say, the J boats or the 12, Shell?
Well, I think as a sailor, you like to sail anything. I mean, it's of course, it's fantastic to see these new fast boats, but it's also lovely to see these old boats. I have owned myself a lot of old skerry cruisers, wooden skerry cruisers, but it takes a lot of care and they're fragile and so on. But it's lovely to see that people also maintain them and build new ones. Svea is newly built.
Yeah, Svea was a 1930. Now there's a modern boat. There's the Ineos Britannia. That must be live. They're out practicing too. But you will remember that Svea was a Swedish design from the 30s or 40s?
Yeah, but she was never built at that time. It was only drawing.
It was drawn, and then a gentleman here from the Bay Area, who's a member of St. Francis and now New York, then bought the plans and built Svea.
Yeah, that's lovely. Fantastic.
Clayton Allen Embley is commenting in the chat. He's saying, now there's a yacht. That's a yacht. And I don't think he's talking about Ineos Britannia. I think he's talking about the J boats that we see. They got plenty of breeze outside there where the 75s are sailing. You can see both, well, 175 anyway. But closer to shore where the AC40s are, Shell, it doesn't look so great.
No.
Well, look at that. Now they're saying, see that? They got start. They are trying to start. There's 13:06. No, thank you, Mark Holland. Yep. Okay, the clock is now running. Racing.
Okay, great.
Racing could start, as Tamara Taylor is saying, become our pipeline into the race committee stuff. The race committee sends stuff out by text constantly, and Tamara's keeping us updated, as are several others. I know the media center is getting the information, and Richard Gladwell and others are updating us as well. So what do you think is, the Swedes won the other division, right? They won the B group, if I remember well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they did. Yes, in style.
And that is let me go back to that slide. There's the Swedish Challenge women's team powered by Artemis Technologies, and they won. Vilma Bobeck. Is that how you say her name? Vilma Bobeck?
Vilma Bobeck. Yes,
Vilma
that's
Bobeck.
correct.
So they are at the top of Group B. The Dutch team, which is also really a good, consistent, good-looking team, they were second. And what do you think of the Dutch? You know, they were the best Olympic country here in Marseille, and for a small country, they are a massive sailing power.
Absolutely. But I mean, it's also quite a different thing of sailing a 470 or a 49 FX to sail these flying boats. It's a big difference.
Exactly.
And I think it's also what the Swedish girls are continuously to say. It's so different to be a sailor and only see half the race.
Yeah. Well, that's
because
what they're
just seeing from one side, you know. You want to see the whole play.
That's exactly what they're all saying. It's the biggest difference for them sailing these AC40s or even the AC75s is that when they're on the windward side, they're driving and they can see, and the person on the leeward side really can't see through they can't see through the sails, but they can look ahead and to leeward and are helping giving tactical information and so on. Tamara Taylor now saying, Shell, that confirmed racing starting at 15:40.
48.
So that's 11 minutes, 10 minutes from now. So we can only hope that's the case. As they're running another TV package, it's not live racing by any means, or it's not a live shot from out on the water there, but hopefully they're going to come good. Yeah, Switzerland has looked good in the women's as well. Shell Borking joining us from Sweden. Thank you very much. I appreciate your coming. Can you stay with us? You don't have to blast off.
No, I don't have to blast off. Well, I will call Göran and talk about me talking to you. He will be delighted.
Well, if you do talk to Göran, give him my best. I haven't talked to him in, I don't know, we've emailed back and forth, text back and forth. There was something we were doing about the history of umpiring. I think I was asked to write something for somebody, and I drafted up a piece, a short piece. I cut maybe 10 years ago. I had a piece in Seahorse that talked about the whole history of umpiring, and Göran and Mary Pera and others that were mentioned, and Brian Willis, of course. And really, Brian Willis, after I got the thing up and running, and Göran, Brian really took it from there and developed it into the art and the science that it is now. And what Brian Willis did, and Göran and I both, the three of us did a lot of judging together, the 92, 95 Olympics and on and on. But what Brian did was the idea that when you're umpiring, you have two umpires on a chase boat, on a rib, chasing the teams around. He also, I thought being high up above and looking down would be beneficial. It's much better to be on the water and be nimble, following the boats right around behind. And Brian really figured that out. But the other thing Brian figured out is to have two umpires in the boat, one calling as if they are the boat. They each take a boat, and it doesn't matter if the boats cross, but you call it as if you are the helm or as if you are the boat itself. So you say, I'm heading up, 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 up. Now I'm bearing away. I'm bearing away. I'm accelerating. I'm decelerating. I'm now tacking. I'm head to wind. I'm now through head to wind. I'm now borne away and on a new tack. Close haul course, yada, yada. Where at the same time, the other umpire is narrating what they're doing in the boat. And that's the way they still do it, even in the electronic booth in Barcelona. And that was a major breakthrough in terms of calling our sport, calling in the umpire sense or the referee sense of the word. And that credit goes to Brian Willis, who came up with that. Okay, Shell, they're talking about 7 minutes. Huh?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Talking to you. And
well, don't go away. If you can stay on, I don't want to interrupt the rest of your afternoon. It's closing in on 16.
Well, I hang on here and listen if you say something.
You're a walker and talker. You don't just sit down and talk. You're walking around. You're pacing around your home.
I'm a walker and talker. Yeah.
I don't know if you watch any of our regular shows at 1500.
I do from time to time, yes.
1300 our time here on Tuesdays and Fridays. But the interesting thing is that we have John Emmett, the Olympic coach, the famously good Olympic coach, esteemed coach from the UK, and he loves to walk and talk at the same time. He does these walkabouts, and he's down in Vila Moura right now in Portugal at the EUR-ILCA, the European ILCA Masters.
Yeah.
And I think that wraps up today or tomorrow. And I think he's winning his division or second in his division. But we got what looks like foiling. This is a live shot of the Kiwi team, I guess. Yes, that is a live shot of the Kiwi team. So hopefully we're going to get some racing. Claire Harrington, who's the Vice Commodore of New York Yacht Club, is saying, here's something I've learned. There's a geographical effect that causes two conflicting wind masses, opposite directions. The course seems to be consistently located in the seam, on the edge between those two wind masses. The J's and the 75s go further offshore to sail in more solid wind. And of course, this race committee is up against the shore because they're trying to keep it visible from the shore. So the spectators such as they are on the beach or beaches or the breakwaters, can watch. And those of you who've been watching these watch parties over the last few weeks now will know that I was on the jury as the American member of the jury in '92 in Barcelona. So we bobbed around out there in those waters right off the breakwater of Port Olímpico, Port Olympic as they call it in Catalan, Porto Olímpico in Español, which is just a little to the north of Port Vel, which is where the America's Cup teams are headquartered. And the reflection off the breakwater, and especially the winds out of the southeast, and Barcelona's coastline is kind of facing to the southeast, and sometimes the wind blows out of the southwest, sometimes it blows out of the northeast, and when it blows out of particularly out of the southeast and goes in and off the breakwater and then bounces back out, it's a veritable washing machine on the race course. Well, thank you for that, Claire. We've been hearing that from some of our other weather experts, including Mark Michelson, who's up in Idaho. And I think we lost Lance Burke, who is here in the Bay Area, has gone back to bed. We're here, it's only 6:36 in the morning, and he got up to watch the watch party, as we all did, starting at 0500. And we've been at this now for an hour and 35 or so, 36 minutes. As we're waiting for Group A, let's give you just a quick reminder of what's going on in Group A. These are the teams. They're the America's Cup representative teams, the Brits, the Italians, the Swiss, the Kiwis, the French, and the Americans. And that's the leaderboard going into this race we're hopefully about to see. We expect 3 more races today, Friday, because the top 3 teams at the end of the day will go forward to the semis, which are also slated to be raced today. And that's a 4-race series with the top 3 from Group A, which is what we're watching or about to watch, and the top 3 from Group B who have already qualified. And we shall see. 7 knots now, Mark Holland is saying. And Larry Kennedy's out in Oyster Bay, out on Long Island, Oyster Bay, New York. I don't know what racing. He's out at Oak Cliff Sailing Center, helping them, presumably. He's a big contributor to that program. Race is live. Let's go back and look at the live race starting in under 3 minutes now. Thank you for that, Tamara Taylor. As when they say race is live, that means that they have met the minimum wind minimum. But it's right at the minimum. The problem with this, they may get this started, and then the breeze may go down a bit, and if the breeze goes down, the boats will fall out. Here, I'll put my hand in front of camera 4. And the racing will continue, but the boats will be in displacement mode. There's the American boat, aft camera. 2 minutes and change here to the start of what, race 5? We had 4 already?
Well, Peter's right. This racetrack is full of potholes. It's going to be so tricky. I mean,
if you can hear Shirley, it's full of potholes. If you're watching here in the U.S., we're watching on ESPN Plus. It's a bring your own video. I can show you the video right off the cable, but we expect all of you have your own video, and we're talking to the video supplied by ESPN Plus, which is not a, it's a pay behind a paywall, but it's not a princely sum. It's $10.99 a month here in the U.S. Race 6. Richard Gladwell saying if you go into the wind maps of Barcelona forecast on Predict Wind, you can see this feature quite regularly. That is the feature that Claire Harrington was describing. It is surprising how hard the wind is blowing either side of Barcelona, but being there is like being in the eye of the storm. Okay, here we go. Less than a minute to go. to the start of race 6. Thank you, Mark Holland, who has become our unofficial, if not official, statistician. Graham Sweeney observing that 2 boats are already parked, have fallen off the foils. There's Svea, the Swedish J-boat we were talking about a minute ago, in the background with her big red kite up. Who's fallen off their foils? The USA and the French? USA and the Swiss. And the Brits. This is a disaster. They're not going to really start this race, are they? I guess they are. I guess once they say the race is live at the 3-minute mark. Oh, the race has been stopped. Okay. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Mark Holland, Graham Sweeney, thank you all. Bloody hell. I wonder what happens now. Does anybody know if they don't get any races in Group A today? Will they call off Group A and go just with the current standings, these current standings? Or will they do more racing of this Group A tomorrow? I don't know the answer. And then if they don't get any more racing in today, they still got the semifinals to race of the top 6 teams, and presumably that will be tomorrow, because the finals are scheduled for Sunday. The top 2 teams coming out of the 6-boat semifinal is scheduled for Sunday, so who knows? Go back.
And this is just a small delay.
A small delay.
Opening in the sky, just again up towards the top mark. That's always
Okay, Peter Lester. I'll take your word for it.
From,
We are live from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. We're watching it on ESPN Plus, actually via Apple TV for the first time today. And no Julia Vedekint, my normal co-host and Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club. Don Lunabos is getting up in Sonoma. He's just joined us. Greetings to you, sir. Claire Harrington also saying she's heard that as a possibility. Hopefully more racing tomorrow and finals on Sunday. No one I've spoken with seems to really know. Well, I think the reason is, Claire, that they don't know because they haven't made the decision. Ian Murray, the regatta director, has got to consult, no doubt, Mr. Dalton and the weather people and the TV people, and then take a decision about what to do, as the breeze has well and truly crapped out in Barcelona, at least in the racing area. Graham Sweeney is asserting that the wind is not going to build in time for there to be any racing today. Once again, it's closing in on 4 p.m. in the afternoon in Barcelona. It's, 15:43 in Barcelona. They do have daylight, though, until 8 o'clock, so they've got another 4 hours of sunlight. I think it was 8 o'clock that Richard Gladwell was telling me is the end of sunlight this time of year in Barcelona. Yeah, Rain Man is saying this is a Foster clock. Well, this venue, I'm sorry to say it, and I know Julie Aarons will get upset, this venue is a Foster clock. And we all knew it. Richard Gladwell and I and others, Graham Sweeney and others, have been telling our FOSI, our Friends of Sailing Illustrated, on the regular Tuesday and Friday shows. We've been telling you that for months, as soon as, in fact, for years. Once Barcelona was nominated, was designated as the venue, we said, hey, we've been there, done that. Even John Emmett, who's not one to be critical of much of anything, he's a very positive, upbeat kind of a guy, our coaching corner expert. Even John said, hey, you know, when we've raced the ILCA, meaning laser events there, we've had to do it early in the morning or late in the evening or afternoon. I would hate to be the event scheduler for this regatta, Mark Holland is saying. On the model's weather looks a mess. It's a designated wind hole. Graham Sweeney's looking at the models online. Claire Harrington, Vice Commodore Harrington, saying, with all the fancy churches here, maybe we should all start praying. Yeah, why don't you, Claire, why don't you go over to the Sagrada Familia, that famously cool and historic basilica. I don't think it's a cathedral, right? Haven't we discussed that in the past and discussed that it's a basilica, not a cathedral? And if that background you're listening to, again, is a replay of Group B, Fleet Race 5. Now we're on the other group. I think we've seen all the Group A races in replays of replays, as Richard Gladwell. It was the comment of the day. And now we're seeing Group B replays. The Germans, the Swedes, the Canadians, the Aussies, and the Spanish. Bloody hell. After this, we're all going to be experts on the reruns, Graham is saying. Yeah, well, one can only hope. That was nice to have Shell. He's clicked off his video. He's got better things to do there at his home outside of Stockholm in Sweden. It was nice of him to join us and have a talk about all things sailing, and particularly related to Sweden and umpiring. And he, being a senior series delegate from his country to the Offshore Council, the Offshore Racing Council, Graham Sweeney said he wants to get his partner Debs and she come on and teach a class about knitting. Knitting. I'm just glad, Graham, and the rest of you, I'm just so glad that I did not do any watch parties, because this is not the first day it's been like this. Those of you who've been tuning in to the racing during this Women's America's Cup, it's been like this, delayed on and off, yada yada. So it's not been easy or fun for the competitors. I'm sure for Ian Murray, the race committee, bless their hearts. All the volunteers that day after day go help put on a regatta like this, as we're still watching a replay. And Stingray, a.k.a. Dogzilla Monster, those course boundary advertising walls need to go. They are blocking. They're blocking the wind. That's what Jody Shields was saying, our Fozy down in Wanji outside of Sydney. Must be those advertising walls. I don't know. I don't know, gang. As I've said before, you know, I'd be sitting here watching this thing. I'd be here in Studio B watching it, preparing today's show, the 1300 regular Sailing Illustrated show. It's nice to have some company. It's nice to have you all here. And I've got some coffee and I've got a banana. But here we go. More of the same. A massive boat handling error. I don't have the audio pushed up very far because it's the audio that they will find, they will hear is the, and then start to worry about copyright strikes. At least I don't see no, but I will say this, that there's a bot, there's a robot, there's an automated going around within YouTube, and they're monitoring all the feeds, the live feeds, to see if anybody's taking a live concert or a live television show or something that is copyrighted, and and I've had a couple of notifications that the owner of the TV rights for the America's Cup, it's LDS. I don't know who LDS is, but it's not the Church of Latter-day Saints here in the U.S., not the Mormons. Whoever LDS, LLC, or Inc., or whomever, owner of the TV rights, they have filed, they're automatically, I'm sure it's a bot, but they have filed notifications with YouTube, who then filed with me saying, hey, we're blocking your show this is in, maybe 12 to 24 hours from now, we're blocking your show because and it's not a copyright strike, but we're blocking your show because we believe you've used copyright information. And you have the ability then to challenge that, which I do each time. I say, no, we're a nonprofit organization. We're using this for news value. It's brief. We're not using it live right off the air. We're watching it as a watch party. And each time LDS has come back, not LSD, Denise Balzac, not LSD, like the famous acid from the 70s. Not that I ever did any, for sure not. But back to the story about the copyright issue. Each time I've challenged it, the LDS, the owners of this America's Cup coverage, have then said, "Oh, okay, no problem," and they've told YouTube to reinstate us. So if you see that our show goes off the air in 12 to 24 hours on YouTube, it's still up on Facebook, no problem. The replay is still there. But if it goes off on YouTube, I'll get a notice. I go on, I have to challenge it, to fill in a little online form, yada, yada. And then it comes back almost within, hours. They'll come back and say, I'll get an email from YouTube saying, "Good news, Sailing Illustrated, your show's been reinstated." They've lifted the copyright block, so. No updates from the race committee. Now, Denise, we'll all stay here. And yes, Graham Sweeney, I do buy the bananas green. And maybe they'll be right by the time we finally get to racing. Who knows? Well, I was a preppy in the 60s. I was only 10, 12, 15 years old, Denise. I wasn't doing acid. I wasn't doing drugs. I've never done drugs. I smoked a little pot freshman year in college and decided that was boring. I was trying to do an Olympic sailing campaign. I was playing hockey and yada, yada. So I didn't even drink until I was 20. I never had a drink of alcohol. All my high school buddies, "Oh yeah, let's go have a beer after the game. Let's go drink." They drink and get blotto. Now, replay of Group B. Now, that's the most exciting thing we've seen all day. Yeah, Scott Davis, they do clear the violation. Whoever, again, the rights owners have been very kind. And I understand the bot, and I understand how they have to take you off the air. If I'm sitting here taking, I could switch over to Fox TV. I could take the cable and go over here. I'll show you what's on the cable. There's Fox News that was on when I got up here in the studio at 3:30 this morning. And if I let that play for very long, I'd get a copyright strike. And if you play a concert, some other live thing or even some recorded thing, you might get a copyright strike. But if you fill out the form and say, we're nonprofit, this is news value, this is fair use under our FCC rules here in the U.S., as we watch replays continuing, we've been at this for almost 2 hours this morning. God forbid this happens tomorrow, although Richard Gladwell tells me that the breeze forecast for tomorrow is good. Day one of the 37th edition of the oldest trophy in sport. LDS, Dogzilla Monster, the Church of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon church here in the U.S. and in fact worldwide, is now very big on mapping your family tree. No, I think I don't want to know too much about them. No, my dad was adopted, so we don't know beyond just my dad's adopted parents. I don't know much back beyond, except on my mother's side, we know about her Norwegian forebears. Her mother was originally from Transylvania, no joke, modern-day Romania. But my maternal grandfather was from Norway, so I can rightfully say I'm a bloody Scandinavian, or at least in part. Bye, Ralphie Stites. Thanks for staying with us this long, almost almost 10 o'clock. He's got to get some work done. Ralphie is the executive director, the esteemed executive director, one of the most popular people in the sport. If you're looking to donate a boat to a foundation so you can get a tax write-off, or if you're looking to buy a boat that has been donated, Ralphie Stites is the, and we did a couple cup campaigns together. He's the esteemed executive director of the USMMA, United States Merchant Marine Academy Foundation, based in New York State. Bloody hell, everybody. Now Claire Harrington is telling us we got a 16:05 attempted start. We've heard that today a bunch of times. Clayton Embley, who's in Kentucky or Savannah or God knows where, he moves around a fair bit. Larry Kennedy agrees. Ralphie is the man. He is so great. He is a good man, that guy. Herr Stites, who's German originally, but more American probably than I am at this point. No blow-by-blow reruns. Graham Sweeney is saying. So we're still on replays, but Claire Harrington telling us that they're going to try to start here in under 10 minutes. Now they're back to a live shot. Course 4, she's getting the race committee information as well. Course 4, 145 degrees. This is not live. This is the end of that replayed race we just saw, because that is not an up-to-date. They ought to cut that off before they get to that leaderboard, because it's very confusing. Here is the real leaderboard. I'll cut over to it. There is the real Group A leaderboard, and we're waiting for races. What did we decide? You were telling me some minutes ago. We're coming up to race 6, I think. But there's the real leaderboard for Group A. 3 more races on Friday. We expect. Athena leading, that's the British team. Then Luna Rossa, the Italian team, in second, and the Swiss in third. The other 3 teams below the cut at the moment. Yes, race 6, Commodore Harrington. Thank you, Claire. Claire's the Vice Commodore of New York Yacht Club. And if she plays her cards right, we don't want to see the cable, we want to see the Apple TV. There it is. If she plays her cards right, and no doubt she will, she's been a very popular flag officer already at New York, having gone up through rear and now vice. And before that, she was, I think, race committee chair for I don't know how long. 6 years? Were you chairman of the race committee? Claire Harrington? First female chair of the race committee at New York, and now the first female in the flag officer. And as I was saying, if she continues on her upward ascent, she will be Commodore in 14 months' time. First female Commodore of the highly esteemed New York Yacht Club. Artemis Racing's Vilma Bobeck. There's Kyle Langford. I've done a cup campaign with Kyle. He's the coach of the Swedish team. And Kyle was with us here in 2013. Great Aussie sailor. And let's look at this package. I haven't seen this package. I think we're going to see Swedes in the cup again. I hope so. 22 years, Claire says she was on race committee, 5 as the chair. Man, that is real dedication.
Yeah, so in Paris we had a challenging week, but we managed to catch a silver medal, and we're very proud and happy about that. And
Lovisa also brought in a bronze
I'd
medal.
bring that audio up for a
Here
sec.
with 2 medals for the team. It's bringing some good energy, I think, to the squad that's been here all summer, and yeah, just pushing us forward.
Well, Bravo Zulu Tour,
We've been growing up together, sailing against each other.
and they the winner of Group B, the other group. We're about to see, we hope, we think, Group A, which are the invited teams. Group A are the America's Cup teams. Each of the 6 America's Cup teams has their own youth team and their own women's team, and then they invited another 6 teams from non-America's Cup countries, including the Swedes, excuse me.
And probably most of the other boats. And the same thing.
Yeah, Graham Sweeney, who's a traditionalist, if these boats, meaning these foiling boats, are so great, why can't they sail? The J-boats, designed at the turn of the last century, are out there sailing. And of course, the J-boats sailed in the America's Cup in 1930, 34, and 37. And they're out there sailing around. They had what was to be a world championship, and then they only had 3 boats show up for this event in Barcelona, the J-boats. They had more in Bermuda. And World Sailing told them, you can't call yourself a world championship if you only have 3 boats. Okay, final.
This will be the final race in Group A qualifying.
Okay, so you heard it.
So this is a huge race
They've
now.
cut it
for
back.
that team there, Emirates
No
Team
surprise. We've been speculating all morning they might do this because they still are trying to get in the semis today. So now they've got, there's the real chart that we've been showing you all morning. The last race, they're only going to have 1 race if they even get this race off. And guess what? If they don't get this race off, there's probably going to be the final standings for Group B.
Let's just check on what the course looks like.
So they got a countdown clock going again, as Tamara Taylor was telling us. Final race of Group A, excuse me. And they're surely giving us the course outlook.
We think that's good news. It is full of potholes.
Full of potholes, she's been saying that. Claire Harrington saying it's not fair, as her American team is down in the bottom of the leaderboard, not having a chance to climb up if there's only going to be 1 more race. How did teams qualify to get an entry into Group B? Dogzilla Monster is asking. Well, that was by resume. The race is live, so they're inside the 3 minutes when the race committee makes the decision.
Let's get a call from race management first of all, and then hopefully we go racing.
This is the race committee. The wind sampling is complete, and this race is live.
So don't be surprised if, again, they've just momentarily got enough breeze, and then they fall out of bed here because of the wind going to hell again. Are they all foiling? No, the French aren't foiling. You can see over here on the right, the French aren't foiling. I had to angle this TV a little differently there. That's better. Swiss are foiling. 9 knots, Don Luneboy. Yeah, Don, if there's 9 knots there, I've got some of that bourbon cream in my coffee, which I do not. I don't think there's anywhere near that, Don. I don't think the girls have had a fair deal at all, Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin is saying, hence Dawn Riley's comment. Is Dawn commenting? Has she been commenting above? I haven't seen Dawn's comments if I missed them. Hi to you, Dawn. Okay, inside of 2 minutes now. Kiwis are foiling. And if they get started and then the breeze drops out and the boats all are displacing and they have a time limit, I don't know if it's 45 minutes. Somebody will know. Yeah, it's a water skiing kind of day, isn't it, Don Lunabos? Probably Mark Holland knows the time limit. Normally it's I can't remember what the time limit is for the first leg. Is it the same here for the AC40s as it is for the 75s? And now the French have fallen. Well, they've been off the foils. Oh, Dawn is on You really don't want to see my comments, she says. Yeah, I hear you, Dawn. This is extremely disappointing, to say the least. In fact, it's maddening. It's awful. Let's call it a spade a spade. Who is displacing and who is foiling in the shot? The Kiwis are foiling. The Brits are foiling. French are not. Coming up on 30 seconds to the start. Mark Holland is saying it's only 35 minutes for the whole race. Well, the race committee can shorten it up. Oh, the Kiwis have fallen off the foils, I think. No, they're still sort of on the foils. 5 seconds. And to try to stay on the foils, it looks like two of the teams are over early, the Kiwis and the Swiss.
For both teams, so the two teams that are vying for that third spot, penalty at the start.
Yeah, as MacGyver was saying, the two teams vying for that third spot. The Kiwis are in fourth, just behind the Swiss. Oh, they got to go back and restart? Oh, man. So they're going to be battling it out. If the Kiwis had managed not to have an OCS, an encore side, a pre-start penalty, they might have been up and been able to put, was it 5 points was the delta? Yeah, the Kiwis are on 20 points and the Swiss are on 25. So they need to put some places between them, but they both got OCS. Swiss have still not wiped the penalty. Is this when we say Crutonic? Claire Harrington is asking. Yeah, Commodore. Oh, man. Well, the Brits are leading.
Just doing a really nice job there to dig their way out, but Athena Pathway and Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
And the Brits have been leading all along here, most of the series they've led, and they're leading on 36 points, tied with the Italians. And guess who's in second? The Italians.
Have actually restarted.
French still off the foils. Kiwis are off the foils. Were they? Are they? Have they caught back? Is that a replay?
New Zealand, you have not started. You have not started.
Ah, the Kiwis have to go back. You heard Richard Slater, the chief umpire, say you have not started, you've not started. So now they've gone back. They're behind the line, turning now to come back uphill on leg one.
Wow, this race turning on its head.
And the Kiwis are almost a kilometer behind the Brits who are leading. French still off the foils.
3 times Olympic medalist Hannah Mills just passing over now. Tash Bryant.
You can hear Shirley talking about Hannah Mills, who's the A-helm on the Brit team. And they're leading, but boy, they're sailing pretty wide angles because they don't want to get too high into the wind and fall off the foils.
This will be the battle that we can expect to see in the
The battle that we expect to see. Come on, Mr. MacGyver. The Brits through the gate. In the lead. They're leading this Group A series on 36 points. Tied with the Italians on 36 points. The Italians in second, and Claire Harrington's American team having a better race. They're in third. No chance of climbing into the top 3, though, as they're only on 11 points.
New Zealand at the start, their chances now of being in that third position they've almost evaporated.
He's talking about the Kiwis. Their chances having all but evaporated as they're way back. And the Swiss now have fallen down. A Fozy flop. A Fozy flop by the Swiss.
Is that the point where I say, but wait, there's more?
Yeah, even MacGyver's making fun of this. He's saying, but wait, there's more. So there are the Swiss off the foils doing 8-9 knots. French are foiling again, it looks like. The Brits have fallen off the foils. This is Crutonic, Commodore Harrington. You are right. It's absolutely, utterly Crutonic. They've made the time limit to the top mark, I believe. Tell me if I'm wrong, Mark Holland. And now they've got a time limit of 35 minutes for the whole race. Who's off the foils? The Swiss, the Brits. Americans are on the foils. The Italians are in the lead on the foils. Americans in second now on the foils. Brits off, Swiss off. Now, guess what? Now the Italians are off. Are they going to get back up? No. No. So now the Italians are off. The Americans, if they can stay on the foils, are going to gain. They're still on the foils doing 29 knots. Kiwis are back on the foils. The Kiwis are here in 5th place. U.S. is now leading, having not fallen off the foils. What a fustercluck, indeed. Italians off the foils, Brits off the foils. The other 4, it looks like, are foiling now. Italians have a protest against somebody. They're now the leader. They've passed no penalty from the umpires. I mean, this is a race course full of, as Shirley keeps calling them, potholes. Andrew McIrvin saying it's time to abandon this is just a farce. It's sad. It's more than that. It's bad for the sport. I mean, imagine people tuning in, really trying to, see our beloved sport cast in a good light. Hang on. The Kiwis are foiling and gaining. Steve MacGyver, who, of course, is a Kiwi. The Americans leading again, staying on the foils. Are they? Are they? Yes. And the total time limit, Mark Holland is telling us, is 35 minutes for the whole race. Of course, the race committee, the race is stopped. Tamara Taylor saying the race is stopped. Andrew McIrvin, your comment was heard by Ian Murray, perhaps. The race is stopped. We know about it before the TV does.
And this race is stopped.
Wow. What a series of events.
Graham Sweeney says, this sailing makes bingo look good. The race is called. The race is stopped.
Well, the breeze obviously dropped, and that's why the race was called. We saw the relief there from the Kiwi boat, but I don't know. They're still below the.
Claire
They
Harrington.
still need another race. They need things to happen.
Of course, with American Magic leading, the race is stopped. Oh, for Christ's sake. Oh, dear. I mean, the poor race committee, they're under pressure from Grant Dalton and from Ian Murray. I mean, Ian's under pressure as the regatta director, under pressure from TV, trying to get something done, anything done. They really don't want to. If I go back to our slideshow, they really don't want to have to end it here. Yeah, Don Riley, remember the Irish commentator? That's a good point. Remember the Irish commentator who Actually, I ran that YouTube video, Dawn, of that Irish commentator from the 2012 Olympics who was commentating in jest the Ilka start, and he thought it was the finish of the race. Yeah, he pretended as if it were the finish of the race. And it's on YouTube. Those of you who haven't seen it, it's hilarious. I'm sure many or most of you have. But that Irish commentator is hilarious, and I ran that on one of our fairly recent regular Sailing Illustrated shows, and I got a copyright strike because that video is owned now by the IOC. They've bought it and are trying to take it off YouTube and not have, but people have it in, you know, I've got a copy of it somewhere, and people keep posting it to YouTube. Yeah, we need the Irish commentator. Recap the leaderboard. Marcos Weinstein is saying, what is the schedule tomorrow? We don't know. There's the leaderboard from this Group A. The Brits, the Italians, and the Swiss are the top three, and if they're done for the day, I think those three are going to go forward. Let me back the slide up here to the Group B slide, and they will join these teams who have already qualified, the Swedes, the Dutch, and the Spanish. And that would be then the 6 teams in the semis. And the semis are scheduled for today. That's why I did the watch party starting at 0500. We were hoping to see, and you know, I can't schedule this the night before. I have to schedule it 2, 3, 4 days ahead of time, at least in my own mind, and start to put up promo slides and so on, so you all know what the hell we're doing. So I thought we were going to see the 4 race semis today of these 6 teams, 3 from each group. I don't think we're going to see that. So the question is now, when are we going to see anything? Let's go back to what they're showing us. A live shot of ETNZ. Yeah, the real question. There's Steve McIver asking, what's the real question? Now, the real question is, what's the race management going to do?
We've still got to run the semi-finals. We've got 3 semi-finalists from Group B.
He's asking all the same questions we been asking all morning. Mark Holland is saying, let's finish it. Well, that would be my vote. I don't think they're going to have any wind today. We knew a couple days ago it probably weren't going to have much wind. We've been at this for 2 hours 17. And no surprise, we have Cretanism afloat and afoot. As we've tried to watch here from Studio B. We did have Kjell Borking on from Sweden. He's gotten smart and left off the YouTube. So thanks, Kjell, for you coming on when you did. That was gave us someone to talk to for a while. And all you commenters have been, the chatterers here in the comments have been fabulous. Thank you for coming on. As the TV people don't know what's going on either.
I'm sure that the likes of Emirates, Team New Zealand would at least like.
I think the semis are, my guess is the semis are over for Group A. We know they're already over for Group B. And we suspect that they will now go forward with the semis. Probably not today. Probably not today. The TV window is, I think, 2.5 hours max. The so-called unilaterals, the people who own the TV rights in the various regions, the various areas where this is being televised, especially if they're cable or let alone broadcast, they will have been, abandoning this and going to some other programming.
America's Cup is all about high stakes, high adrenaline, high tension.
High stakes, high adrenaline.
Revolution has taken it to a new realm, and it's spawned a new generation of sailors who, as we can see, fly rather than sail.
Okay.
Lingy's assembled a top
I mean,
squad
you
that
got to
matches the
also
future
feel sorry
of
for the
Swiss
commentators.
sailing.
This guy, Steve McIver, whom we all criticize, as they go to another package, this now of the Swiss team that looks like Red Bull Alinghi Racing, Alinghi Red Bull Racing. It looks like they're going through to the semis. They're in 3rd place.
My way here really is incredible, and I'm so proud of that.
To me,
racing the first Women's America's Cup is a big opportunity.
Marcos Feinstein, you're too kind. As I said, I'd do it just to have some company when I'm sitting here watching it. Although with the weather forecast, I may have either stayed in bed or gone back to bed. But once you're awake and you coffee up, and I go in and I shower and put on TV makeup, a little bit of it, and you're awake. What are you going to do now? Prepare this afternoon's 1300 show is what I should be doing. Thank you, Denise. You're very kind. As are you, Marcos Feinstein, down in SoCal. Denise in Puerto Rico. No win, no racing, no chance, no competition, Graham Sweeney is saying. Yep. Another package. These packages have been good. I mean, the television production, the vision as they call it in the TV world, I think they've been good. The interviews have been good. The commentators, okay, you can argue about Mr. MacGyver, but Shirley and Glenn and I mean, I think they've been fine. I think this is tough. This is a hard job for them to do. I don't know.
My expectation for the Youth and Women's America's Cup.
Clay Emily, if those of us that race and sail do not enjoy this, what do you think the non-sailing folks think of this? Exactly. They're changing channels faster than an F1 car. Hello, David Morse. Good morning to you. Finally getting to try to watch one from SoCal. Well, 7:21 down in SoCal, as it is here in San Francisco. David, we've had no racing today. It looks like they're about to throw in the towel. And the standings from Group B are done. That Group B is done, and we think the Group A standings, which they have more racing to finish up their scheduled races, we think that's over. We're guessing. We don't know. They haven't called racing off yet for the day. But today was to be the semifinals, the top three from each of those groups going forward to the semis, and they're going to race 4 races in the semis to determine the top 2 who would go through to the finals. And the finals for the women's is scheduled between the 2 America's Cup races on Sunday morning.
4:30 local, too far away.
TV production facility here. Mark, are you in Barcelona?
You were live on the race course for the
I know you've been back and forth. Racing is restarting again, Tamara Taylor is telling us. Okay, Tamara, thank you for that.
For race 6, a restart in race 6, which has been made the very last.
Claire Harrington says they're making cream puffs on the cooking channel. Okay, they're live again.
In the Pooch Women's America's Cup, and this team, Alinghi Red Bull Racing, along with Emirates Team New Zealand, get another chance to try and solidify.
They're going to try again. Excuse me.
Spot. Now, on this boat, we are aware, is Mr. Danny Pooch, of course. Pooch.
Oh, now they're giving the sponsor some love.
Right-hand side, and you and he have similar interests, Glenn.
Yeah, we do. Danny obviously right into his sailing, but also loves his motorcycling and boating as well, and was fortunate enough to go for a little bit of a ride around the
Mr. Pooch, who's the head of the sponsor of the Women's America's Cup, apparently.
But he rides really well, and wow, what a lovely countryside back there. I was very fortunate, but done a bit of a mod and some upgrades to his.
I love Spain. I loved living there. Yeah, he needs a bigger boat, Claire. He's out there bouncing around. Doesn't look very comfortable, does it?
A very famous marine photographer, done cups and classics and all kinds of things. And she wouldn't miss the America's Cup for the world. Here she is.
Who was that? I missed who she said. Who?
So
there was a famous marine photographer on that boat?
Here on the waters of Barcelona, and the yacht's getting ready to sail for this must-win.
Doesn't look saleable to me. Okay. They're going to try. Koss Evans. Thanks, Graham Sweeney. You would know Koss as well. Was she on that boat? Andrew's saying kid. I think he means Koss. That is an autocorrect on his typing in on Facebook. Koss Evans. And she was on that boat with Mr. Pooch.
To actually be a part of the America's Cup is something.
Another package.
It's been a long time coming.
Joe LA.
Any of the women here could have imagined
Predictive text. Kid, not cost. Joe LA. What a hell of a good sailor she is. Erica Dawson.
foiling yachts.
My name's Joe LA and I am a driver with Emirates Team New Zealand.
My name is Erica Dawson and I'm a trimmer. I'm Olivia Mackay and I'm a helm.
Another famously good sailing family, the Mackay family in New Zealand. Gemma Jones. Great sailor as well. Good sailors on all these boats. I mean, I think this has been a good concept. I know not all of you are big fans, but I think this Women's America's Cup, I think the Youth America's Cup, which was started here in San Francisco by Russell, really championed that. And some of us, and Ian Murray and myself, Russell, you know, we got to focus on the big picture here of the America's Cup. And he said, no, I want to get a Youth America's Cup going in the AC 45s in those days, 2013, 11 years ago. And Russell pushed that through, did it again in Bermuda. And now Grant Dalton has not only maintained the Youth America's Cup in the training boats in the AC 40s, but he's also now added the Women's America's Cup. I think these are good initiatives. Bravo Zulu. I think it's fired up some non-cup countries, as we're talking with Shell Borking in Sweden. And it's, you know, it's lifted, at least to a degree, lifted the visibility. Maybe not what we wanted everybody in our sport to see. And I know, I hear comments from all of you, yes, but if you go to our clubs or to our families and they say, you know, hey, are you watching the America's Cup? You ask your friends or families or club members. I know over at St. Francis Yacht Club last night, I was over there for dinner with a couple of friends, and non-sailing friends, by the way. And they ask about the cup. Oh, when's the next cup? Okay, you would expect that from non-sailors. Oh, who's in it? Oh, it's in Barcelona. Oh, did the Spanish win it last time? No. The Kiwis are running it in Barcelona. Really? Okay. Okay. And, you know, they kind of back away at that point. But you ask sailors the same, or, you know, I'll go over there and sailors will ask me, hey, I know you're doing these watch parties, but what's going on? Because nobody's watching. Sadly, nobody's watching. If they were serious about the women's AC, it wouldn't be a media-led. It would be in every club from the bottom up. Well, you got to start somehow, some way, Graham. And, you know, I do think it's been a good initiative. And now Tamara's telling us, Tamara, you've been great to have on here. Oh, they say the race is live. Okay, so they must have enough wind. They must be trying to get underway. Let's get out. Okay, now we're out of that package. And indeed, we're coming up to 3 minutes. You're going to try again.
This is the race committee. The wind sampling is complete, and this race is live.
Okay, here we go again. How many attempts is this? This is not coitus interruptus. This is startus interruptus. I'll get a wag of the finger from Julia, who's upstairs. Julia. Wag of your finger. Anybody want to take bets on whether this goes? The Americans are off the foils, it looked like to me a moment ago. There they are. French are off the foils. Is that the French? Can't tell. Yeah, it's the French. Brits are on the foils. Americans off. This is something else when you're doing the pre-start with 2 minutes to go and you're talking about who's on and who's off the foils, which is the most important thing, I guess, we can talk about. Will the Kiwis stay on the foils when they jibe to head back to the line? And they call it Shirley's calling it a maneuver, not a jibe. Call it a jibe, Shirley. Spell it G-Y-B-E or J-I-B-E, I don't care. French are off the foil. It looks like the Americans are foiling now. They're all scared to death to do a maneuver for fear of falling off the foils. Which is why you see some of these teams getting what otherwise looks like a Crutonic boundary penalty because they don't have enough pressure, they think, to do the maneuver to tack or jibe and head back to the starting line. So they sail outside the boundaries, figuring getting a boundary penalty is worse, is not as bad as falling off the foils. And the Lingy tacks without falling off. There they are over here. Without falling off the foils, 45 seconds to go. Kiwis are off the foils. French are off the foils. Kiwis look like they're marginally on the foils. The French are dead in the water. And the Kiwis stayed on the foil. Oh, did they? Yep, they did.
Well placed for a good start, as are the Americans.
Are the Americans over early? I hope not. Yes, the Americans are over early. The Kiwis are over early, and that's the extensions. They for technical reasons. So the Kiwis have gone back. The Americans are protesting. I don't know what that's about, but they were listed as OCS. And they've got to go back. I guess that the penalty is to go back. Americans probably are just going to keep going, and they're going to file a red flag protest, a request for redress. Graham Sweeney says this race will be stopped. Theo Smith agrees, says they won't make one lap. It's a very short course, Andrew McIrvin is observing, yes. Clayton, I don't think I'll read your comment. That would get a finger wag from Julia. Probably true, though. If this were club level racing, the bar would make no money, Graham Sweeney. The race is live. 4 words. You back up, Fog Machine. I thought you went back to bed. Well, it's 7:30 here. It's time to get up. The race is live. 4 words striking terror into the heart of 4-knot sailors. Now that the American OCS has gone away, I don't know what that means. French are still being shown as OCS. And the Swiss trying to stay on the foils. They're in the lead. I feel a little bit like that silly Irish, but hilarious commentator, that farce that he created on that YouTube video from 2012. I can't do an Irish accent. I wouldn't try. I'm not very funny, as you all know. So the Swiss, who are in,
have been instructed not to race.
Okay, the French must have a technical problem. They've been instructed not to race by the race committee, so they'll get average points. Thanks, Graham Sweeney, for Debbie still being available for the knitting show. We might do other things with Debbie. You might do other things with Debbie than just a knitting show. INR is the code. It's a new made-up code that apparently Richard Slater and Grant Dalton came up with it, but Richard Slater and presumably Ian Murray came up with, meaning FRA is INR, instructed not to race, which means preserve your batteries, preserve your boat, we'll give you average points, which is apparently what's going to happen now for the French. They must have a technical problem with that boat, which is why they were off the foils, and which is why you only see 5 teams now at the bottom. The Swiss are leading. Swiss are in 3rd place, so they're trying to protect the 3rd place over the 4th place Kiwis, who are in 3rd in this race, 5 points behind in the leaderboard. The Kiwis are.
their racecraft in their AC40. There goes Emirates Team New Zealand. They need to be.
And the co-leaders, the Brits and the Italians, are in 2nd and 5th, respectively.
Alinghi Red Bull Racing is still 5 points.
At Gate 1. How long a race is they've shortened this to how many legs, I wonder? Anybody know if they've shortened it?
Red Bull Racing pull off their jibe. We're very happy with that.
This is a big improvement team in the last couple of races too, and hats off to them as well, American Magic.
These poor commentators. They're trying their best. Look at how far that mainsail is to windward on the Italian boat. I mean, the Traveler's all the way to windward. They're pumping the main. They're pumping it. That's got to use some battery. You see the Traveler, which is this, we call that, if those of you are non-sailors, most of you got to be sailors on here. The main Traveler going back and forth. 4 legs. Thank you, Mark Holland. You are a godsend. 4 legs, and the legs are only 6/10 of a nautical mile.
Look like they're sailing into slightly more pressure on their bow.
They're saying 9 knots. Well, that's what Don Lunabo said a few minutes ago. Somehow, maybe there's 9 knots. That boat on the radio, it says foreshortening of the lens, presumably. That spectator boat's not on the course. But yeah, Don Lunabos, you were saying 9 knots. That's what they're saying here on the tube.
1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2. I mean, just really strung it together. Whatever the conditions, they are up the front. Not necessarily pushing for a win, but their level of execution has got better and better. What a threat for the finals.
A threat for the final.
So just
I think she means the semifinals.
Race in Group A. We would normally have 8 full races but because of the schedule, the race management have decided to make this the last one. So we can
Okay, so that's Mr. MacGyver confirming this is the last race. And they're going to do 2 laps, windward leeward, windward leeward. They can barely point downwind, Fog Machine is saying, because they're for fear of staying. Well, they're going downhill pretty good. I mean, they're 45 degrees to the rum line, aren't they? Lanceberg, Fog Machine. Brits are leading, Swiss in 2nd, Kiwis 3rd, and the Americans in 4th, the Italians in 5th.
now sitting in the top spot at this moment. This is the halfway mark.
1 more lap.
And they will just inch their way around that gate and then head up for leg number 3 of 4. Gently they do it, away they go, and off they go. Trying to lock
Well, you got to give the Brit late regardless. They've been consistently good. You got to give them full marks. And even if Shirley's a bit biased or a bit biased sounding, still. Look at this. The Swiss are tacking rather than jibing. Here come the Kiwis in now. Into 2nd. So the Swiss, by doing that tack, still fell off the foils.
Otherwise, there could be a lead change for this final 3 positions.
So how big?
Now, how much of a gap does there have to be between New Zealand and the Swiss for the Kiwis, who are in 4th place, to climb ahead of 4th place on the leaderboard, to climb ahead of Alinghi Red Bull Racing on the leaderboard? There are 5 points difference.
Who wrote the script?
Oh, come on, MacGyver. Excuse me.
American Magic as well.
Swiss are off their foils still. Americans and the Italians on their foils.
With the Americans there. Emirates Team New Zealand.
If the Italians stay on, there's a replay of their tack in lieu of a jibe.
big loss of flow on that rudder, so you just see the back of the boat spitting out to windward there, and that
Another replay angle.
blowing up the flow on the elevator as well. So boat handling error there by the Swiss team, just too aggressive in that turn.
Blaming it on the aggressive turn. Glenn Ashby is.
So tight this.
Okay, so now they're trying to make this into a deal, saying the Swiss now in 5th place, but that's only 3 points difference, right? And the Swiss are ahead by 5. So the Kiwis have to get in the lead, and then something. How can they even gain 5 points?
On the Swiss team to finish further up the leaderboard.
Yes, sorry, mate. I get a little excited, easily excited, but the green line above the flag says you are in. Now, on our live points update, we are seeing that Emirates Team New Zealand and Lingy Red Bull Racing are level on 27 points. It goes back to the last race. Well, this is the last race. So,
Okay, I don't understand that.
as it stands, Emirates Team New Zealand are sailing into the semi-finals, but that's where I'm going to stop.
Okay, so I guess the way the points work, as you all know, I guess from previous, if you have a green line, that means you are qualified in your current position. You're qualified to go forward to the semi. So right now the Kiwis are ahead of the Swiss. The Swiss have fallen out of the, and that's apparently because they're both on 27 points. They pick up they would pick up 7 points in 2nd place, and they would pick up only 2 points in 5th place. Do I have this right? Which means they would be tied on 27 points, which means the tiebreak goes to who beat who in the last race.
About to finish leg number 3, and then there would be.
Do I have that right?
So now a Lingy Red Bull Racing become the hunter.
And the Kiwis are in 2nd.
So Athena Pathways coming up through the top.
Brit's still leading.
Good lead. They've been rock solid steady.
And this is unbelievable. So the Kiwis now apparently picking up 7 points in 2nd place.
So there will be a split at the top mark.
And the Swiss are only picking up 2 points. How can that be?
Can you imagine the nerves?
I mean, I don't know. Marcos Weinstein saying there would be no math.
Lingy Red Bull Racing is.
They'll know exactly.
Lingy's still off the foils.
And they'll be keeping an eye on them because
How do they pick up 7 points? Are the points? Is there bonus points for the last race? In other words, it's not just one. You know, it's high point scoring. I get that, but why is the delta between 2nd and 5th more than 3 points? John Sangmeister says, "Don't worry, nobody cares."
big pressure on all the teams at the moment.
Yeah, well, I hear you, John. Good morning to you. He's up. He's down in SoCal. I don't get it.
One bad maneuver could be so costly for the Swiss.
And the commentators don't apparently seem to know what's going on either, other than they're watching the green bars, which, okay, I get. 5th place, Mark Holland is saying, is always 2 points.
Hoping that they see one of those
Is 4th place 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, 6 points? So why aren't they on, or is there more points up here? Are there bonus points? 10, 5, 7, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you, Larry. Okay.
Also, as we look at the
So there are bonus points.
Is there an opportunity? Is there an opportunity for Emirates Team New Zealand to get past?
saw a bit of a touchdown in that jibe by Athena
10 points for
Pathways.
first, 7 for second, 5 for third. Is that for every race? And then 3, 2, 1? Okay, so 10 here, 7, 5, 3, 2, 1. That's the high point scoring that they're using. So you do get bonus points in effect for being up here in the top 3 places. So that's why the Kiwis now, if they do finish second, are going to be on 27. And the Swiss, if they finish here in 5th, are going to be on 27. And then the tie break goes in favor of the Kiwis because they beat. Okay, Claire Harrington confirming it's always been 10, 7, 5, 3, 2, 1.
Win number 2 for them. They're off to the semi-finals, and maybe, just maybe, with a second.
So unless the Swiss can pass the Italians,
But we have to wait and see where Alinghi Red Bull Racing finishes.
unless the Swiss can pass the Italians,
Sitting in 5th position. They don't have a green line above their flag, which means right now, to this moment, Emirates Team New Zealand are in
Swiss
the
are foiling.
semi-finals.
Are they going to get past the Italians? It sure doesn't look like it. There was the delta, 400-meter delta. Unless the Italians fall off the foils or let them go by. The Italians having already qualified, right?
So just having a look. Nice jibe there, and American Magic also achieving their jibe. So it really is.
So it looks like Alinghi's going to get knocked out. And by the way, well, I'm not going to say it.
With 2 third-place finishes, and that's a lot to take away from the regatta, considering how difficult the conditions have been.
There's no love lost between Patrizio Bertelli, who's the head of the LRPP, as most of you will know, and Ernesto Bertarelli, the Italian named, I mean, it's an Italian family living in Switzerland for several generations, and there's no love lost. There's no way that Patrizio Bertelli's team would throw the race to Alinghi, in my opinion. Well, there's some polite applause there. There's a Swedish flag. So the Swiss falling off their foils at that bottom leg, the second leg.
Because Emirates Team New Zealand finished ahead of them in this race, they go through.
Ah.
Would you believe that? Would you believe they start one race, they stop it, and then it looks like one team hasn't got it right, and then bang. You've got a feel for them.
Okay, well, Alinghi Red Bull Racing.
But surely you've been in, you know, you're an Olympic gold medalist. That's sport, right? It can be cruel.
You talk about a roll of the dice.
It's so tough. I mean, actually,
It's so
they
tough.
Had a pretty good series. They were always there or thereabouts. Tough day for Alinghi Red Bull Racing.
Tough day.
Yep.
What a shame.
But you also have to congratulate Athena Pathway Great Britain, Luna Rossa.
Yes, you do.
Prada Pirelli,
Fair point.
and Emirates Team New Zealand, because they have completed our semi-finalists in the Pooch Women's America's Cup. That is the official result from the 6th and final race in Group A. Athena Pathway get the win from Emirates Team New Zealand, the New York Yacht Club's American Magic, followed in by Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, Alinghi Red Bull Racing, and it was an instruction not to race for Orient Express L'Oreal Racing, who we farewell from the regatta as well. So confirmation of the standings, completing Group A.
Tied on 27
Pathway
points.
top the group in style, followed by Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli and Emirates Team New Zealand. And we farewell Alinghi Red Bull Racing, the New York Yacht Club's American Magic, and Orient Express L'Oreal Racing.
Is farewell a verb? It is now.
Let's go on board Athena Pathway, Great Britain. Hannah, congratulations. You are well into the semi-finals. Nice race, that last one too.
Yeah, and Bravo Zulu too.
Yeah, that was a really tricky race. A lot of waiting around, but good to get one off.
Bravo Zulu
Yeah,
too.
Hannah, I mean, it has been a lot of waiting around and the toughest of conditions, really, where the key is to
So
stay
now-
foiling. You know, how
I don't want to listen to that. How much of a relief is it, Shirley? If she asks, she starts every question, as a lot of these commentators do, with how, leading them into an answer. How much of a relief is it? Oh, what's she going to say? Oh, it's not much of a relief. Tom Ogletree saying pushing buttons is not sailing IMO. Fog machine, let's change batteries and start the seventh. Well, and Steve Atkins, you're right. It's still, sailboat racing, one mistake, but I wonder why they waited so long to jibe. I guess they just must have thought they didn't have enough pressure. They waited a long, that is the Swiss, they waited a long time to jibe, and they were well below the line, I think. the ley line, so they tacked. But they must have tacked because they thought they had a better chance of staying on the foils than jiving. But who knows?
Joe, congratulations, boy.
Who knows? Now let's see what the Kiwis have to say.
With the restart, and then suddenly you come home second, and congratulations, you made the semi-finals.
Yeah, we're trying to do the math there at the finish and battling a bit with it. Had a bit of a tough day, as you saw, a few mistakes. But
she's
yeah,
got a great voice.
So to make it.
She is really something.
At the end there, a few touch and go moments, but yeah, learning every race.
Okay, well, the Kiwis are in. You see the results.
Just give us a bit of a feeling of how hard it has been.
How hard has it been?
Stressful.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been dynamic out here for sure.
Liv Mackay. What a great sailing family that is.
And that everyone's going through it, and you can only control what you can control. So, yeah, I feel like everyone's embraced, like the whole team's embraced it as much as we can, and tried to switch on and get into it. So it's definitely been challenging, but loving it nonetheless.
Liv, obviously a massive emotional roller coaster for you and the team, but you've made it through to the final series. What's your overwhelming thought going through your mind right at the moment?
That we potentially have another 4 races to do.
Okay, well, there it is. I can't believe they're going to try to do semifinal racing now of these top 6 teams. They got to redo the batteries. It's a big deal. They got to move the teams into the other boats. I don't see how they're going to do all that. What time is it in Barcelona now? It's closing in on 5 o'clock, 1700. Claire Harrington says nearly 1,700 in 4 races ahead of them. Brutal.
Excuse me, Luna Rossa,
Let's see what they're going to do.
Julia Conti. Julia, congratulations. Probably not the way you wanted to finish this particular part, but most importantly, you are through to the semi-finals. How tricky was it out there today?
How tricky was that?
Yeah, super tricky. It's been a long day already. But yeah.
Okay.
It was very patchy.
I hope they have running lights. Well, I thought Richard Gladwell, Claire, told me that they have. I thought he told me they have. You there in Barcelona have sunlight till 8, so you got another 3 hours of sunlight. Or I guess maybe that's, who knows. Yeah, and the French boat may require some shore assistance. Good point, Theo Smith, because that boat was told not to race.
Get ready for that.
I don't know, just keep with the focus of improving race by race, and
flip a coin and call a winner, Graham Sweeney saying.
Teammates are doing a really
I don't know what they're going to do.
So yeah, we are totally ready.
Julia, one final request from us. Would you like to say a shout out to your Italian fans, just to know that they're out there?
You would think, Mark.
Yeah, there's plenty of friends out there.
You would think, Mark, that they would
all right, appreciate your time.
go Saturday, tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
But, trying to get 4 races in between the 2 Americans. This is a replay now. Trying to get 4 races in between those 2 America's Cup races tomorrow. That's a big ask. Oh, Gordon Smith has joined us. How nice to see Gordon Smith on, making a cheeky comment here. Hi, Gordon. Richard Gladwell says, sorry, he's now telling me sunset in Barcelona today is at 7:16 p.m., so 19:16. It's only another 2 hours and change. Yeah, Steve Atkins saying the same thing. So who knows? How would you know? Well, I do, Gordon. I have a banana. I've eaten most of it. I tell you what, when you're eating a banana on the air, you know that things have gotten pretty boring here.
Let's have a look at the key moment that changed everything at Gate 2. I mean, after leading.
Yeah, AC is scheduled tomorrow at the normal time at 14:10, 10 minutes after 2, Barcelona time. We'll do a watch party at 5 a.m. my time, which is 1400 Barcelona time. We'll do that again tomorrow, but what are we going to be watching? And we will do even though I feel like pulling the plug, I'm going to do a 1300 show today, a regular show, as promised. And Julia's going to come down here and join me as my normal and esteemed co-host for our show, regular Friday show at 1300 Pacific. And we'll recap this. We'll by then know what's going on tomorrow, hopefully, presumably. But yeah, this is a bit much.
So we have our semi-finalists. How good?
Gordon saying taking his youngest child to riding lessons wasn't that exciting either. Thierry de Jong, nice to have you on here. I can't believe they're going to try to race the semis.
Yayo Team Dutch Sail and also the locals in the form of Sail Team.
Or some of the, maybe they're going to try to race some of the semis. They move teams out. What's going on there, Claire? They moving your team off the boat and they got to redo the branding? I don't see how they're going to do this.
And that is pretty exciting to say the least. But
exciting to say the least.
What happened today? We got some racing underway.
There's certainly some exciting battles.
Yeah, they have to switch boats. They have to change the branding. They have to charge the batteries, swap in the battery packs.
Saw some great action, but really, really difficult to keep the boats foiling.
Yeah, and the story of the day really was all about the Kiwis and the Swiss team. Swiss did so well off that start line, first round the top mark. We thought that third place was going to all be about them, that it was confirmed. It's never quite like that in Barcelona. The story doesn't end until you cross that line, and this was the moment they will not forget for a long time. Badly executed maneuver cost them dearly. Athena Pathway, a class act, and we saw them go on to win the race. Nice job, Tash Bryant. Well sailed.
So we see some of the best moments of the race that mattered today. It took us a while to get there, team, but we got there to say the least, and our semi-finalists have been confirmed for the inaugural Pooch Women's America's Cup. And now we start thinking, okay, Group B versus Group A, and you've got Sweden and Yayo Team Dutch Sail, and you look at the big guns in Group A, and you've got the Italians and you've got the British. I mean, I'm really looking forward to these semi-finals. I think they're going to be absolute crackers, don't you?
They absolutely will be, and there'll be a bit of a frenzy going on at the moment with battery changes and boat swaps and all sorts of things going on behind the scenes which we can't see. But the fact that the back of those jibs are flapping around when they're free to float around is a good sign. That means we have got some decent breeze. So hopefully that will hang in, and we will see some great racing coming up later on this afternoon.
So, who is going to be the inaugural winner of the Pooch Women's America's Cup? This is the big moment today. This is the one you feel for Alinghi Red Bull Racing. It cost them everything. It cost them a chance to be a contender in the Pooch Women's America's Cup, and it opened the door. But by the same token, Emirates Team New Zealand did what they had to do, given a second chance after the abandonment of the race 6 the first time around. They came home in second position, then went sailed right past. Oh, that must feel so tough. But one of these 6 teams is going to win this, the Pooch Women's America's Cup. To have their name etched into that for the very first time will be a momentous occasion for whatever team it is, but it is going to be something special, to say the least. Now, what about tomorrow? This is what we're thinking about. The Louis Vuitton 37th America's Cup, the official challenger of record. Ineos Britannia up against the defender Emirates Team New Zealand. Port Entry race 1 for Emirates Team New Zealand. Port Entry for Ineos Britannia in race number 2. The hair just went up on the back of my neck. That's how exciting.
Oh, the hair went up on the back of my neck. Okay, I'm back. I just had a pause for the cause here. I may have to go get more coffee if we're going to have more racing.
wouldn't dream of, but what it has provided is plenty of history and plenty of more history in the making. So make sure that you're a part of it.
Okay, there's the bull ring.
The Louis Vuitton
There's
37th America's
Sagrada
Cup
Familia.
is underway, and the race to history for either team is underway.
Is that back on? Is that live? Oh, that has got to be taped from earlier today.
But half the fleet have gone home, and half the fleet have stayed.
Mark Holland is telling us, here's a bit of news. He's saying, by the way, Team New Zealand won the coin toss and will enter on port in tomorrow's first race. And then thereafter, as you know, they alternate.
Entertainment continues tomorrow, live from Barcelona. Make sure you don't miss it.
Okay, they're going off the air now. It's 8 o'clock here. It's 2 there. Sorry, it's 5 there. So we've been on for 3 hours. They've ended it. Does that mean racing has ended for today? I don't know that racing has ended. The TV has ended, as they've been on the air for their full 3-hour television slot. There's Andy Armstrong checking in from Hampton, Virginia. I see the comments up here. These are where I watch the comments and scroll through them. Now, we don't know what's going on, do we? Did I miss something when I got up to take a pee? The guy with the boat stickers is the fastest thing out on the water at Barcelona. So, I don't know. Regardless, we're not going to have any more television. So there's no point in continuing a watch party here. Mark Holland is there. Tamara Taylor is there, and I guess we're not going to have any TV regardless of what's going on. Iced vanilla latte, 1 pump only of sugar-free vanilla. Intended start time, so they're intending to go on. Claire Harrington's telling us the intended start time is 17:20. So in 20 minutes, they're intending to start the semis. Tom Ogletree, smart boy that he is packing for Aruba. I don't think there's going to be any TV coverage, Claire. I think they're done. I think they are well and truly done. I got a live show to prepare for 1300. So in 5 hours' time, we're live again. I got to finish up the slides, got to recap what we're doing here. And we're going to talk today. I mean, it's going to be interesting to know whether the 49er sailor Dylan Fletcher, who beat you, maybe you saw my slide that I put up earlier, or late last night, I should say. I think we're done with TV coverage, so I think we're done with this watch party. And I hope you will join us at 1300 today as we will do our regular show. We're to the finish line for this one, I'm pretty darn sure. And as Julia would always say, if she were here in the studio, she'd say, please like, follow, and share. And we'll ask you to do the same thing. Comments are welcome. We'll leave comments open in replay, as we always do, because people are so respectful. People are so nice and decent and respectful. Sailing Illustrated is supported, and our studio here exists because of your kind, generous donations. Give us a few bucks a month so that we can keep on the air, stay on the air. Join via Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, or you can send us a check direct, or send us a bottle of something that you like, that, not that I drink, but Julia would like to. We're going to put some more of Clayton Embly's. That seemed to tune Julia up on Tuesday. So she said, yeah, let's have some more of that for the show this afternoon at 1300, some of his bourbon cream. Okay, so there's the schedule going forward. Our regular show this afternoon at 1300 PDT, which is 2000 UTC on our normal channels, both Facebook and YouTube. Tomorrow morning, a watch party for, we think, races 1 and 2. That much we think we know. What else will be going on tomorrow morning? We don't really know. If they're going to get some of the semi-racing in this afternoon and some tomorrow morning, we don't know. But we'll do it again Sunday morning, a watch party at 0500 for the races 3 and 4 if they get a couple races in tomorrow. Tomorrow. The forecast is good for tomorrow. And what is supposed to be the Women's America's Cup Finals. One race, winner take all, between the top 2 boats coming out of this 6-boat semifinal, whenever that takes place. What is that noise? That's an audio signal coming off of the world feed. So this is Sunday morning, supposedly the women's one-race winner-take-all final between those other two races for the AC 37, races 3 and 4. And Monday is a reserve day if the wind is not cooperative on Sunday, which it's not supposed to be, by the way. It's supposed to be light again Sunday. There could be racing on Monday, in which case, if there is, we will do a watch party. And then Tuesday, which is a day off, it's a dark day, meaning no television has been scheduled on Tuesday, regardless of where they are on the schedule. We will do our regular show Tuesday afternoon show, which should be show 771. And Ben Remmacher, who's the class manager for the 49er FX and the NACRA 17, he's going to come on and tell us some more about these NACRA sailors, these 49er sailors who are competing now in the Cup. And they've done a nice video the 49er class has in the last couple of days because they're celebrating having Dylan Fletcher and Nathan Outteridge and, of course, Pete Burling on the helms of the two boats that are in the finals, or at least 3 of the 4 helms. Sir Ben Ainslie was a Finn sailor, not a 49er sailor. Okay, that's about it. That show this afternoon at 1300. We're going to talk some more about them as well on today's regular Sailing Illustrated show. We hope you have a great rest of your week, wherever in the world you are, and the rest of your day. And we'll see you, in fact, not even the rest of your day. I hope you have a nice 4 hours, 5 hours, because we're going to go live at 1300 Pacific for our regular show. Thanks to all of you for joining us for this extended watch party this morning. See you here at 1300. Ciao for now.